What niggas? Them niggas? Yeah, dog. You with it? Fuck them. Let's get them. Do them. I did them. We getting nutty in this motherfucker. I got my buddy in this motherfucker. Leave a nigga bloody in this motherfucker. We in the cutty, motherfucker. You done too much. You got it coming, motherfucker. Some of these niggas is bitches too. And some of these niggas look just like you. Well, where I'm from, we like to ride on fools. Do it from the shoulders, I do it from the toes. I do my dirt up on my loan. See murder and magic, hell yeah, they're my motherfucking homies. So when shit get thick and foggy, and niggas wanna act like they wanna get with Snoop Dogg, let me let you niggas know. Shit, fuck what you going through and fuck what you stand for. I hate you because we from different neighborhoods.
I hate you because you look different.
I hate you because I don't understand you.
I hate you because people I know hate you.
I hate you because I think you hate me.
Because I need someone to blame.
Because you talk different.
Because you act different.
Because you're just different. Man, I hate that things are so bad that we have to do a commercial about it.
Me too.
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
America's biggest sporting event of the year, the Super Bowl 2025, had it all. Revenge, heartbreak, celebrity presence, and of course, controversy in truckloads. Philadelphia Eagles denied Kansas City Chiefs a historic three-peat with a dominant 40-22 point win, winning their second title in 7 years and also settling scores for that loss in 2023. And even though this scoreline was one-sided, at least seemed to be, the finale lived up to all the hype because the game had it all. A political message from U.S. President Donald Trump, a priceless reaction from pop star Taylor Swift as she was being booed, and a statement from New Orleans that the city was ready and bustling even despite a terrorist attack. While the excitement for the Super Bowl was already there, it doubled with all the A-listers coming in for the game. From Hollywood celebrities to politicians, the 2025 edition was a grand affair, but the hype was still around Donald Trump's attendance for the Eagles versus Chiefs clash. Trump, in fact, is the first sitting U.S. president to attend a Super Bowl, and trouble followed him even before he stepped in to watch the game. A protest was held outside Trump's golf club in Florida regarding the latest policy changes he's adamant on bringing in. Trump, of course, was unbothered by all of this. He continued to indulge in his pre-game activity that included a round of golf with Tiger Woods. Drama, of course, followed the president as he flew into New Orleans because it felt like Trump was there to make a political statement rather than just watch a football game. The 47th U.S. president first met with the families of the New Orleans victims, then, of course, went about meeting all of the players before he headed right into his box to watch the game. Trump's presence at the Superdome received mixed reactions. There were a lot of speculations on how Trump would react during the Black National Anthem, the Lift Every Voice performance by R&B vocalist Ledisi. During his first term in office, Trump had in fact criticized the league after the colored players kneeled during the U.S. National Anthem to draw attention to racial injustice. The U.S. president, though, decided to play it safe here. He didn't react during the Black National Anthem performance, remained stoic, but his reaction during the U.S. National Anthem showed where his true passion really lay, especially with the military salute he did during the anthem. A gesture that's mostly done by military officials, not a common sight for any citizen, much less the president, which was enough for the internet to react. Now, while there is no particular law that restricts the U.S. president from doing this, maybe it was a statement from Trump that he only recognizes the U.S. national anthem, a subtle way for Trump to prove which side he really was on. And it wasn't just the anthem that sparked controversy. During the halftime show, a protester unfurled a Palestinian flag with Gaza and Sudan written on it. This, of course, comes in the backdrop of Trump's controversial remark that U.S. should take over Gaza and relocate most of its Palestinian population. Clearly, the Super Bowl was much more than just a football game. While Trump's presence did make the finale a historic event, it also projected the influence of politics in American sport, especially as his attendance came after NFL decided to remove the End Racism slogans that have been part of the end zone since 2021. while the NFL replaced these slogans with "Choose Love" and claimed they continue to be diverse in the sport. The act raises eyebrows, of course, because Trump recently ordered the cancellation of programs that encouraged diversity, equity and inclusion across the federal government, which makes many feel that the league's decision was a response to the president's overall vision. So is the American sporting world too headed the way Donald Trump wants the country to be? The Super Bowl, of course, gave us a peek of that being a possibility.
Would you let your children play tackle football?
Well, I have two girls. They wouldn't be allowed to play.
Well, they do. I have seen them talk about having female kickers and such, and that's one of the protected positions that you talk about. Would you let any of your girls go out and kick the field goals?
I don't see football as a viable option for them. I don't think that world is open for girls.
Ad space during the Super Bowl costs millions of dollars, and the NFL used some of that precious time to promote flag football.
Girls don't play football.
They do where I'm from.
Now, the ad ends with a quote, "Let's make girls flag football a varsity sport in 50 states." Now, this push comes as flag football is due to make its Olympic debut in 2028 in Los Angeles. Now, here to talk about the future of flag football, we turn to Jane McManus, an adjunct professor at NYU who writes about women's sports. So, Professor, what stood out to you about this ad?
Well, I think the production value is number one. It was clear that the NFL put a ton of effort into the presentation here. There was an ad that ran a couple years ago on flag football and during the Super Bowl, but this one was obviously the push behind it was much bigger. They got a big director to direct this commercial. It just reeked of bigness.
Yeah, and one of the things I saw is that because the girl that was playing against the character Brad, she managed to school him on the flag football field. But to me, what I saw is that flag football is less about raw strength and power and more about technique.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of things about flag football that kind of make it a sport that can be played by a lot of different kinds of people in a lot of different kinds of places. It doesn't require as much equipment. The potential for a head injury, for example, even though that's always a potential when you play sports, it isn't quite as big a deal. I mean, I think there are a lot of people who are wary of playing tackle football now or putting their kids in tackle football. So this kind of is a way to play football that gets away from all of that. Yeah, it's definitely more of a skills-based game in that regard, and the athleticism really comes through in that ad.
But why not encourage girls to have the option to put on shoulder pads and helmets and play football the way boys and men do?
Well, I mean, there are leagues for that, but and there have been women's professional leagues even where, for the last 15, 20 years, but you just don't get women and girls in volume signing up for that game. So here's a game that can be played, on a high school field. It can be played at that level. And I think there's a growth there potentially I just don't think there is for women's tackle football.
You mentioned that tagline at the end of the ad to make girls flag football a varsity sport in all 50 states. How realistic of a goal do you think that is? And how many teams, if you know, are out there now?
There are 14 states that have sanctioned high school football or flag football for girls. I don't know if you're aware of the patchwork of athletic associations across this country, but it is very difficult to get pickup in all 50 states for anything because it's all kind of done through the local level, through these local state athletic associations. So there has been for about the past, I'd say 5 or 6 years, real advocacy into getting some of these, the sport developed. And it's been state by state, like very small scale grassroots efforts. And now you have 14 states and it really got pickup in some of those kind of those southern states, those SEC states where you have, a lot of interest in football writ large. And now it has spread. I don't know how realistic it is for the short term, but certainly long term, it's a good goal.
The NFL is a master marketer. But so I'm going to ask this question. I think I know the answer why they're making the big push for girls flag football now.
Yeah, well, they've got the Olympics coming up in 2028, and flag football is going to be a sport there. And this is a game, they're trying to export it. Tackle football is not going to be an Olympic sport. Right. It's too much of a U.S.-based sport. That's tough for the Olympic Committee to pick up. But flag football can be played anywhere and internationally, and it's everybody starting on a level playing field.
Getting more eyes on the game, too. Jane McManus, author of the forthcoming book, The Fast Track Inside the Surging Business of Women's Sports. Jane, thanks.
Thank you.
I don't want us to lose sight that things are getting better. Each successive generation seems to be making progress in changing attitudes when it comes to race. Doesn't mean we're in a post-racial society. It doesn't mean that racism is eliminated. But you know, when I talk to Malia and Sasha, and I listen to their friends and I see them interact, they're better than we are. They're better than we were on these issues. And that's true in every community that I've visited all across the country.
Alongside playing video games and dancing, Bench Elementary student Poppy also likes to skate.
If you're falling down the real one, you're just going to have to get told to get back up. And skating is like a really good way of having to do that. If you fall, you have to get right back up, or else you're going to get ran over by the world.
It's something she shares with her dad.
Freedom comes to mind, like young, carefree. Every emotion I get to witness my kids experience at the roller, and all of that from my child just kind of gets like replayed in my head.
It's a central cultural experience to the black community, according to the family, but also unique to that experience, words of hate.
My middle daughter, Poppy, who is 10 years old, is for the second time having to deal with her peers telling her that they have what they call the N-word pass.
It's a word that, one, I never mentioned in our household.
Shannon Beavers, Poppy's mom, says the first incident happened last year. The most recent, this January, with School District 2 confirming an investigation. Shannon wants district change in the form of policies related to slurs, as well as changes to curriculum and parental communications.
Every fight that we fight is one less that my kids have to fight.
In emails provided to MTN, the district says the incident was handled appropriately with standards meant to address bullying and harassment. But in an email to Shannon, Superintendent Erwin Garcia says her expectation of district-wide action for an incident in a single classroom is, quote, unreasonable, likening the incident to parents asking for changes to, quote, athletics and snow day procedures.
You can make a policy that if my daughter wears a spaghetti strap, if she has to go home or she can't be there, you have a clear, defined consequence for that. But you cannot set a clear, defined consequence for racial slurs. I don't buy it.
Less than 2% of Billings' population identifies as black. And Poppy's parents say lack of acknowledgement of the unique experiences of those from smaller ethnic portions of the community leaves issues like racism in the dark.
Just because something is not your experience, is not the truth in your life, in your circle, in your fishbowl, does not mean millions of Americans, innocent children, don't experience it every single day.
Acknowledge color, acknowledge the presence of someone else. Of course, don't identify somebody by that, but that's the beautiful thing, is to acknowledge our differences and learn from them and grow from them.
Marcus Gakova, MTN News.
I'm getting in the elevator, and these two high school white boys tried to get on with me. And I just dove off. I said, y'all ain't killing me. I am scared of young white boys. If you white and under 21, I am running for the hills. What the hell is wrong with these white kids shooting up the school?
Man charged along with his son in 4 tragic deaths could be moments away from going home. Today, a judge granted Colin Gray bond.
I believe that it is, one, required to give a bond, but 2, given the extraordinary nature of the case and the other factors, that it needs to be a high bond.
Atlanta News First reporter Bridget Spencer is live outside of the Barrow County Jail. And Bridget, Gray needs to come up with a lot of money before he's allowed to leave.
Right. Colin Gray has a $500,000 bond. Now, he can meet 10% of that to be set free. Now, earlier today in the courtroom, his attorneys argued that, look, he is innocent until proven guilty at trial, and the judge agreed with him today. One by one, families of Appalachia High School shooting victims took the stand in a Barrow County courtroom, expressing the immense loss they've been dealing with.
I have 2 little girls who are going to be growing up without a daddy, 2 granddaughters.
14-year-old Colt Gray is accused of shooting and killing 4 people and injuring several others at the school in September. His father, Colin Gray, was granted a $500,000 bond.
If you were to be granted a bond by this court, and the court set certain conditions, would you abide by those conditions?
Some of the victims' families say this tragedy could have been prevented by Colin Gray.
I feel like the sheer irresponsibility of Mr. Gray as a parent robbed my family of a chance to raise my son.
Authorities feel he played a role in the tragedy, giving his son the AR-style rifle used in the shooting. Gray's attorneys argue he poses no significant threat and is not a flight risk.
Mr. Gray is innocent until he goes to trial, is found guilty by a jury of his peers with competent evidence. That's not taken place yet.
This is an extraordinarily rare case.
Joshua Schiffer is an attorney not on this case, but has been following it closely. He believes this is something that could set a certain precedent in Georgia.
We can't find anywhere else in the history of Georgia where parents or other responsible parties are charged for the criminal actions of a third party.
Colin Gray faces charges including murder, involuntary manslaughter, and cruelty to children.
Just think about it. You're trying to basically convict someone or accuse someone of a charge of not stopping something they didn't know was going to happen. That's a very difficult burden for the state to follow.
And now tonight, our big story coming out of Mooresville High School, where a student is now charged with trying to plot what authorities are saying was a mass shooting. And our Logan Gay spent tonight in Mooresville looking through this. So, Logan, tell us what you've learned.
Scott, students, parents, and law enforcement are thankful this did not end in violence, but many people are still in shock that it went as far as it did.
18-year-old Mooresville High School student Trinity Shockley is being held in the Morgan County Jail without bond. Mooresville Police Chief Kerry Buckner says Shockley was allegedly planning a mass shooting at Mooresville High School on Valentine's Day. Now Shockley charged with 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder and 2 counts of intimidation, threat to commit terrorism. Shockley was arrested on Tuesday.
Nothing ever happens in Mooresville. It's a small town, but to think that somebody was plotting to hurt a lot of individuals, kids, I mean, future leaders of this country or whoever, is pretty disturbing.
According to court documents, Shockley sent messages to people on social media that said, "I've been planning this for a year," and shared a photo of 10 AR-15 magazines. The allegations shocking the suspect's classmates.
I haven't read all the details, but hearing all that what she said, yeah, it's pretty crazy and freaked me out a lot. I feel safer now that she's not here, but then again, the threat of someone else doing it and or someone that was has the same ideas of her that's always a fear going to school.
During the investigation, detectives say they found evidence in Shockley's room that suggests the suspect may have had some kind of infatuation with school shooters. Detectives say they also found 3 notebooks in Shockley's backpack with the following excerpts. "I want to hurt others. Becoming the worst version of myself hurts, but this needs to be done."
The pictures in her room they look like family photographs, like you would put of your kids, but they were all of people that had committed mass shootings. She had buttons on her backpack with the faces of the mass shooters in them.
Aaron Wilson has 2 kids who attend Mooresville High School. He says he wishes the school would have alerted parents earlier, but he says he's focusing on being thankful for the person who reported it.
You know, whether she intended to carry it out or not, they weren't willing to take that risk, and I'm very, very thankful for them doing so.
Now Wilson is making sure his kids have the tools to handle whatever life throws their way.
But, you know, I also do believe that it's It's our job to not hide in fear. It's our job to walk through adversity and know that these things happen in our world, and we can't hide behind them. We have to keep pushing forward, and just it's a valuable lesson for them to learn at a young age.
According to court documents, when Shockley spoke with a detective at the Mooresville Police Department, Shockley allegedly said it was a joke and Shockley would never do that and does not have access to a gun. As for the father I spoke to, he says he's keeping his kids home tomorrow just so they can clear their minds and start the next week off fresh.
All right, Logan Gay, thanks so much. The person charged in this case has been in the news before as the victim in a drunk driving case. So back in 2022, police say someone hit Shockley while they were getting on the school bus at the age of 15. In court documents, police say Shockley told them about being bullied after the crash and threatened for years. Right now, we're taking a deeper dive into the court documents in this case. You can find this online. Plus, you can read the full statements from the FBI and Mooresville schools all on WTHR.com.
This question, why is this stuff happening? The New York Times editorial today. The Trump effect. See, this is what I'm doing with my money, buying newspapers like Dick Gregory. The Trump effect and how it spreads. It says we are on the brink, under Trump, on the brink of fascism. New York Times, all the news that's fit to print, editorial 12/10/2015. I say fascism is end-stage white supremacy. See, just like in Nazi Germany. Fascism, system of racism, white supremacy, determined to survive.
It was almost a week ago that neo-Nazi demonstrators were seen on I-75, specifically on an overpass in the Evendale and Lincoln Heights area.
That's right. Now a neighboring school district is releasing a statement and expressing their disappointment with local police response. Our Alexis Cruz is following this at the alert desk. What's the latest on this?
Well, Amber Dan, in a letter released on social media, the Laughlin Local School District says they are outraged with the incident and the Evendale police response. This letter explains that the U-Haul carrying the neo-Nazi demonstrators ended up close to the Laughlin Local School District building where there were children in pre-kindergarten through 4th grade. District officials detailed that the U-Haul followed a marked Evendale police SUV off of the highway to the alleyway across from their building at the corner of Wyoming Avenue and South Cooper Avenue. The school district says they have surveillance video of that officer then engaging with the men in the U-Haul as those men were organizing their weapons. That video also allegedly shows the officer leaving the men and their U-Haul on the property minutes before students were going to be dismissed. The school district says they will now be reviewing this surveillance video with local law enforcement, and they're calling for an independent investigation into the police response of this event from both the Evendale and Laughlin police departments. Evendale police have released statements on their response to the neo-Nazi demonstration. However, they did not mention any proximity or response near the school property. So if you'd like to see the police statement, you can go to our website, fox19.com. It's linked in the article. It's also important to note that this is a developing story this morning, as the school board says they are now reviewing their footage with police. So certainly more information to come from this story. At the alert desk, Alexis Cruz, Fox 19 Now.
The man knot, race, class, genre, and the dilemmas of black manhood.
New tonight and only on Fox 4. Sources tell Fox 4 News the man accused of shooting a Kansas City teen will change his not guilty plea. Andrew Lester was set to stand trial next week for shooting then 16-year-old Ralph Yarl in 2023. I'm John Holt.
I'm Lauren Halifax. So Lester's now 86. He's facing 2 felony charges, including assault and armed criminal action. But that may change tomorrow at a newly scheduled plea hearing. Fox 4's Malik Jackson has the story.
If it's something that will still provide some accountability for what has been done, and also give Ralph something that he doesn't have to relive what happened on April 13th.
Days before the criminal trial against this man, Andrew Lester, was set to proceed, the man whose lawyer argued that his actions were justified appears to be taking accountability. A 6-hour preliminary hearing that Ralph Yarl had to testify in replays in the back of his head. His mother, Cleo Nagby, shares how hard it's been.
He curled up in his room in a fetal position, and he was in that position for like a couple of days.
Really?
Yes. So I don't even know what the trial is going to do to him.
Are you nervous for the trial?
For him,
Are you scared?
For him, I am. That would be the primary reason why he would take a plea deal, just so he doesn't have to relive it. Yes.
Wow.
That would be the primary reason.
It's the case of a teen who went to go pick up his younger twin siblings on the night of April 13th, 2023. Yarl mistakenly went to Northeast 115th Street rather than Northeast 115th Terrace. About 1 block away, there's a dispute of if words were exchanged and if the screen door was grabbed. The incident ended with Yarl being shot in the head and in the arm, the story garnering national and international attention as the question was raised, did race play a role in this case, something the family believes, but neither the state or defense introduced in this process that now finds itself heading for a resolution before a jury could weigh in.
My emotion is mixed. It's anger, and then it's thank God it's going to be over.
That's Malik Jackson reporting, and more reaction from the family. Quote, they say, quote, we trust in the truth and we trust in justice, but real change happens when people take a hard look at their own biases and choose to do better. We hope this case sparks conversations that lead to action because no child should have to suffer, end quote. Fox 4 will be at that hearing tomorrow. We will have more coverage for you throughout the day.
You're dirt. We think you're dirt, Paul. Who is we? The West, all the superpowers, everything you believe in, Paul. They think you're dirt. They think you're done. You're worthless.
I'm afraid I don't understand what you are saying, sir.
Oh, come on, don't bullshit me, Paul. You're the smartest man here. You got them all eating out of your hands. You could own this freaking hotel, except for one thing. You're black. You're not even a nigger. You're an African.
It's a taboo topic and an age-old practice across several countries and religious traditions in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. An estimated 230 million women and girls are subjected to genital mutilation or cutting.
Fred de Sam Lazaro reports from Senegal, where one group has had success in getting thousands of African communities to abandon the practice. A note that the group does not receive any current funding from USAID, so it's unaffected by cuts to that agency. And a warning, this story contains some explicit references.
In the small town of Jalakoto recently, there was a coming out party for several nearby rural communities. A boisterous and until a few years ago, very unlikely gathering called a declaration, attended by elected, traditional, and religious leaders. One after the other, these communities came forward to proclaim that they were abandoning female genital mutilation or cutting. It's a removal, partly or wholly, of the clitoris, a practice some scholars trace to beliefs about chastity until marriage or even hygiene, dating back some 2,000 years, one that the UN and governments have long tried to eradicate.
The news rule is you do not cut your daughter.
On a bumpy ride to the declaration, I asked Molly Melching what's bringing about the change here. The key difference, she says, it's not a directive to eradicate, but a decision to abandon cutting.
We need to abandon ourselves. It's not because someone tells us to.
Melching is globally recognized as founder of a group called Tostan, or Breakthrough, best known for helping communities across several African countries abandon FGC. It's not exactly what the Danville, Illinois native set out to do when she moved to Senegal as a student, then Peace Corps volunteer a long time ago.
I would never have dreamed that I would stay here 50 years, although this is a magical country. It's beautiful.
She began in education, working to develop children's reading materials in local languages. In Senegal, books, if available at all, were in French, the former colonial language that few can read or even speak. With a small grant, she began in the village of Samanjai, where she also lived for 3 years.
We saw this great hunger for education among the populations. They wanted to learn to read and write. They wanted to learn more about health and how they could prevent illnesses.
It grew into adult education, first for women, eventually for everyone, and focused on the causes of various health problems.
They wanted to learn what happened to them. We didn't even bring up FGC until much later in the program. And meanwhile, they had learned what are practices that may harm and lead to problems later on in life.
As FGC came up organically, she says, the newly acquired health education helped link the practice to its myriad painful short and long-term consequences, infections, hemorrhage, even sterility and death. Tostan's approach includes teaching about human rights, and in discussing FGC, she says, the message was strictly one of support, not shame.
We understand that you did this not because you wanted to harm your daughters. And no woman wants that her daughter not be able to marry because no one respects her. So they had no choice. And suddenly they realized that together, collectively, today we're going to a declaration of 29 villages. They've come together to collectively decide that this is no longer the expectations.
Although she's not active in the day-to-day running of Tostan any longer, Melching is a celebrity, reconnecting here with many alumni from its education programs. Women like 52-year-old Dusu Sisao, who have carried the torch forward after attending one of the earliest declarations.
In 2003, we did a declaration for many communities around here because of that desire to end violence and practices which are harmful to people, to girls. So now we need to go even farther to other places where people are still practicing.
Her own 3 granddaughters are now free of the pain endured by their elders. Sisao is one of hundreds of so-called social mobilizers for Tostan, traveling to communities to urge abandonment.
How did the men react to all of these changes?
In the beginning, it was hard because the men didn't know what goes on when you practice this female tradition. They just accepted that that was what was done.
We visited Sonkaro Jambang, village chief, now in retirement, who recalls being approached by women in the community. He called together religious leaders. Senegal is a predominantly Muslim country.
They said, let us look in the Quran and see where it is written that women must go through this. And they found nowhere where it said that they must be cut.
That interpretation removed a significant hurdle to abandoning FGC in many communities and drew the support of men. Indeed, many social mobilizers and Tostan staff are male, many driven by memories of a loved one's suffering. Melching took time to stop by the family of one late campaigner, Bubu Sal, who years earlier had lost an 8-year-old daughter.
He thought when she got a fever 2 weeks after the FGC operation, he thought that it was malaria. And so he treated her for malaria because he had the pills with him. And when she got worse, he then was told that she had tetanus and it was too late.
It was an emotional reunion with Sal's family. The Tostan manual he used, in the local Mandinka language, was still on the shelf 12 years after his death.
You know, this was the hygiene and health module where Bubu Sal said he learned about the transmission of germs and realized that his daughter died because she was cut with a knife that was not sterilized.
He traveled village to village with his story and guidebook, urging people at Tostan classes to attend a declaration event like the one in Jalakoto. These are a critical step in normalizing social change.
For communities considering abandoning female genital cutting, one last concern is, will they be ostracized for having abandoned a time-honored tradition? The hope from these gatherings is that they can be an instant cure for that stigma. As one person put it to me, everyone now sees that everyone else is doing it.
Melching says that decision to abandon is just one part of a holistic approach to improving life in communities. She took me to Samanjai, the village where it all started decades ago. After a ceremonial welcome, we were shown the latest vision board, a development wish list for the next 10 years, illustrated by hand in a community where not all adults can read. The most pressing priority, adding a doctor to the nurse who now heads the health center they brought to the village a few years ago.
So none of this existed when you moved into this village?
No, this was all empty space here.
It's Spartan, but a solid building block toward better health. The key to Tostan's success, she says, has been to play a supporting, not directing role that's so common in aid work today. Help communities write a grant, for example, or provide health information, and let communities decide for themselves.
How many villages have abandoned now?
Over 9,500.
In 8 countries?
In 8 countries.
A small dent in a global problem, Melching says, but a lesson that development works best from the inside out. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Fred de San Lazaro in Jalakoto, Senegal.
And a reminder that Fred's reporting is a partnership with the Undertold Stories Project at the University of St. Thomas in Minnesota.
Skin whitening is a major industry around the world, including in the U.S., but it is endemic in Nigeria, Africa's most populous country. It's rooted in colonial-era beauty standards that see brighter skin tones as more desirable. The effects can be severe, and many people who use these products are unable to stop, as NPR's Emmanuel Akinwotu reports.
I went through hell before I got myself again.
Susan Anderson is a 52-year-old store assistant.
I was helpless.
We met in the waiting room of a dermatology clinic in the capital Abuja. Parts of her face looked seared with burns. Thick dark patches of skin surrounded her eyes and covered her cheeks. Anderson started using skin whitening creams as a child, given to her by her stepmother.
I think at the age of 12, she never explained to me. I just felt it was a normal cream and I was using them. I was naive and I was vulnerable.
When she was 15, a school friend recommended a stronger product used as a body lotion.
Within 1 week, I started seeing changes. I started becoming more fairer than I was.
And how did it make you feel?
I felt happy. I felt I was looking more beautiful.
Until it nearly killed her when she became pregnant.
It was during delivery I had a terrible cut.
She had a vaginal tear that doctors struggled to treat because the whitening creams had eroded layers of her skin.
They sewed it, but the stitches were not holding. I almost died at that point.
And it took over a year for her to recover. Skin whitening or skin bleaching is a major industry around the world, but especially in Nigeria. More than 77% of Nigerian women have used skin whitening products, according to the UN, the highest rate in Africa. One of the major markets in the country is the populous northern city of Kano. At the Sabongeri market are several small stores covered in posters and images of white and Arab women, which sell an array of skin whitening products. Mirror White's whitening lotion, Skin Beauty White, So White, So Beautiful, Quick Action, Rapid White. One of the store owners is 29-year-old Shafari Mansour.
Some person they say they want bath salts. Some people they say they want shower gel. Anyone you want, we can do it for you.
He says most customers are interested in whitening creams and soaps, but some want other types of products too.
Injection, like this one.
He shows me a box of small clear capsules of hyaluronic acid and hexapeptide used for injection. He says he doesn't administer them himself.
But me, I'm not doing it. It's not good.
Instead, he says, he uses the serums to mix bespoke creams and soaps for customers. Traders like Shafari mix a cocktail of various whitening products with self-made solutions, stirring them in plastic bowls in their stores. But there's a catch with all whitening products, he says. They only work if you keep using them.
If you stop using it,
You turn back to your black. God created you black. Who can change you? Nobody.
He said God created you black, and no one can change it. So when you stop, your skin reverts back within weeks, but with damage.
People that bleach their skin is like an addiction.
Zainab Bashir is Susan Anderson's doctor in Abuja. She founded Derma RX, a dermatology clinic. She said there is very little regulation of skin whitening products.
Anyone can literally walk into a pharmacy, buy it without any prescription, and use it for as long as they want.
The products have been linked to higher rates of skin cancer, and Nigeria's government said it was considering new regulations on skin whitening products. After her medical scare, Susan Anderson briefly stopped using the whitening creams. But then she started again.
It was actually very, very hard for me to stop using them.
And continued for decades while battling severe reactions and burns. She felt more and more isolated as the side effects worsened.
I couldn't get a job. And I also lost a man whom I was dating that I was supposed to get married to, because he said he cannot present me to his family.
She eventually found work as a store assistant, and during one of her shifts last year, she met Zainab Bashir, who brought Anderson to her clinic.
She said I shouldn't worry, that she's going to help me out, and I was really very grateful to her.
And after losing hope, she finally found the help she needed. Emmanuel Akinwotu, NPR News, Abuja and Kanu.
Hitler had the supreme fascist state. And what was he worried about in Europe and in Germany? He was worried about white genetic annihilation. What is everybody in Europe worried about now? White genetic annihilation. All these people from Syria coming up in here.
And now moving to Europe, Germany stands at a political crossroads with just a few days left before the national election. The far-right AfD party has steadily polled second for over a year with growing support from young men. A recent survey shows 26% of the men hold a positive view of the party compared to just 11% of women. And as immigration and cultural shifts dominate discussions, the far-right party's narrative is being embraced by many young men. So what does this mean for Germany's future? Our next report explores.
On a cold, foggy February night, Germany stands at a critical juncture. With just 2 weeks until the national election, the winds of political change are swirling. Because for more than a year, the far-right Alternative für Deutschland, or the AfD party, has held the second spot in national polls. And its growing support among young men signals a political transformation that for sure is hard to ignore. Concerns over immigration have also become a rallying point. Incidents involving asylum seekers have fueled unease, pushing security and border control to the forefront of political discussions.
I was in shock. I could not comprehend it. I am still shocked. I am shocking because I am taking children myself quite often to public playgrounds, here and elsewhere. I have no words. I am shocked. You hear this happening in other places, but now in your own city. And I do not understand. It is known these guys, not only him but others in Magdeburg, they are psychological ill or whatever. Why is nobody doing anything in time? Do these things always have to happen first?
And acting on it, the AfD has seized the moment, channeling anxiety into a narrative of national protection.
We need order and discipline in this country again. We need proper law enforcement. And we must not tolerate people who commit criminal offenses here, who come from abroad, to be allowed to stay here. We will deport them. We will do it.
But Germany's painful past adds a layer of complexity. Once seen as untouchably extreme, far-right ideology is now blent into mainstream conversations. For younger generations who did not experience the weight of history firsthand, the AfD has become just another political player.
Many of my friends don't even know who they want to vote for yet.
and like myself, I don't quite know what I want to choose either. I would like to help them with the election-o-mat and hope that it will make it much easier for them to make their decisions.
Social media platforms like TikTok amplify this normalization, with party influencers gathering massive followings. And their slick content bypasses traditional media, drawing young voters into the fold.
And I am against this denigration of the opposition. And that's why I'm trying to talk to these people to see whether it might be possible to show them on camera. Hey, it works. You can talk to people with different opinions, whether they vote Green Left or AfD.
A Pew research in 2024 also shows a widening gender divide in political views. According to the survey, around 1 in 5 Germans, which is 19% of the voters, see AfD favorably. But a large majority, that is 79% of the voters, have a negative opinion of the party. Now, among the eligible voters, at least 26% of men also have more positive views of AfD than 11% of women. And the share of men holding this opinion has risen 10 points since 2022. Because while young women focus on defending rights and equality, many young men feel alienated by these themes.
Especially here in Sonneberg, there is quite a lot of support for the far right, and so it's important to me to just be here, to show we exist, and that even though far-right voices are stronger, we will not be suppressed.
Germany isn't alone. Across Europe, from France to Poland, far-right parties are capturing the imagination of disillusioned youth. In a climate of political uncertainty, young voters are gravitating towards radical alternatives, hoping for a shake-up in the status quo. In classrooms and public spaces, the tension is palpable. Educators report troubling comments from students, questioning historical truths and expressing regressive views on gender rights. So despite attempts to isolate the AfD, cracks are forming. And as Germany braces for the upcoming election, uncertainty lingers. Will the far right chart a new and unsettling course for the nation? The fog of February night offers no clear answers, only questions that loom larger than ever.
Hillbilly Elegy, a memoir of a family and culture in crisis, by J.D. Vance.
Vice President J.D. Vance is under fire for defending a DOJ employee who posted racist comments about Indians. This despite the vice president's wife, Usha Vance, being of Indian origin herself. Marco Elise, a 25-year-old engineer, resigned after his Burner X account revealed posts like normalize Indian hate and, quote, I was racist before it was cool, end quote. But Vance called for his rehiring, claiming social media mistakes shouldn't ruin a kid's life. Now, critics are, in fact, calling out the vice president's hypocrisy, questioning his defense of racism that targets his own family. Our next report dives deeper into the growing controversy.
The Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, is no stranger to controversy, but his latest move has stunned even his supporters. Vance, whose wife Usha is the daughter of Indian immigrants, is advocating for the rehiring of a former Department of Government Efficiency or DOJ engineer who posted blatant racist comments targeting Indians.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Marco Elise, a 25-year-old Rutgers graduate, found himself at the center of a firestorm after the Wall Street Journal revealed his secret X account. Among his posts were statements like, normalize Indian hate, I was racist before it was cool, and you could not pay me to marry outside of my ethnicity. Obviously, after the backlash, Elise resigned, but Vance wasn't ready to let him go. I don't think stupid social media activity should ruin a kid's life, Vance posted on X. Yes, the Vice President of the United States defended a man who publicly called for hatred against Indians, the very community his own wife and children belonged to, and the irony wasn't lost on anyone. That's when Elon Musk, founder of DOJ and owner of X, decided to take the matter to a public poll. Bring back DOJ staffer who made inappropriate statements via a now-deleted pseudonym, he asked. The poll closed with 78% voting in favor of Elez's return, and Musk responded he will be brought back. Even the President of the United States, Donald Trump, supported his vice president and his billionaire buddy, Elon Musk. Responding to questions at a press conference with Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba at the White House, Trump said he supports Vance and agrees with him, declaring, "I am with the vice president."
As part of this DOJ cost-cutting effort, one of the DOJ engineers was fired for some inappropriate posts. The vice president says, bring him back. What do you say?
Well, I don't know about the particular thing, but if the vice president said that, did you say that? I'm with the vice president. Thank you, Peter.
But forgiveness wasn't on everyone's mind. Social media exploded with criticism, especially from Indian Americans. Congressman Ro Khanna fired back. Are you going to tell him to apologize for saying normalize Indian hate before this rehire? Just asking for the sake of both of our kids. Yet Vance remained defiant and was quick to respond. First, he dismissed the backlash as emotional blackmail. Then, responding to Khanna's tweet, he said, "Racist trolls on the internet, while offensive, don't threaten my kids. You know what does? A culture that denies grace to people who make mistakes." But critics weren't buying it. Easy for J.D. Vance to say this when his kids are covered by 24/7 security, one user commented. And another reminded Vance of his old words when he said exactly the opposite, pointing towards the president of leading a movement of vile racists. Now, this isn't just about one engineer's hateful posts, it's about MAGA's double standards. When black NFL players kneeled, MAGA demanded permanent bans. When liberal figures slipped up, MAGA called for boycotts. But when a white engineer posts normalize Indian hate, he gets a poll, forgiveness, and full public support. So as Elez returns to DOJ, Indian Americans are left wondering, is there truly a place for them in this movement? Or are they just tokens, embraced when convenient, but discarded when their presence becomes uncomfortable? Because one thing is clear, MAGA's loyalty has limits, and it doesn't seem to extend to everyone.
Y'all niggas, and you gonna be niggas forever, just like us, niggas.
All new at 4, Charlotte County commissioners are questioning whether the punishment for this man is harsh enough. Today, Charlotte County Commissioner Bill Truex asked that Commissioner Stephen Deutsch resign. Then Commissioner Ken Doherty said if it were him, he'd resign. Hello, I'm Amanda Hall.
And I'm Russ McCaskey. This is the first time that Stephen Deutsch has faced his peers since a complaint surfaced last week saying that Commissioner Deutsch used the N-word more than once while talking with another person in his office. The commission decided to publicly reprimand him and require management training. Well, today there was public comment at the meeting. Wing News reporter Annalise Iraola was there. She joins us now live in the newsroom. Annalise, what was the public comment like?
Divided, Russ and Amanda. While some showed support, others said he should resign. This all over Stephen Deutsch's use of the N-word during an off-topic work meeting with DeJuan Harris, the director for the Metropolitan Planning Organization. The Charlotte County Board of Commissioners agreed Commissioner Stephen Deutsch violated county policy when he used the N-word during a work meeting with DeJuan Harris.
Commissioner Deutsch has violated County Policy 3.45, engaging in offensive behavior in the workplace by using commentary that was both offensive and inflammatory.
During public comment, the vice president of the Charlotte County branch of the NAACP spoke out.
The Charlotte County branch of the NAACP calls for Commissioner Deutsch to resign immediately. Commissioner Deutsch's actions were reprehensible and made knowingly, and his actions and conduct cannot be condoned, but should be met with the harshest punishment possible.
After Commissioner Deutsch spoke publicly about the exchange for the first time Tuesday.
The statement I shared with him, I probably should not have, obviously, in retrospect, but what I did, I told him what it was like growing up and being part of a completely unsegregated community. And I shared with him at one point, and I said, you know, believe it or not, I was actually called the N-word when I was a youngster. I shouldn't have done that.
In response, Commissioner Bill Truex said,
"The word is disrespectful because it disrespects the experiences of black people. For many, the N-word is not just a slur, but a reminder of history that is still felt in contemporary society through systemic racism and inequality."
And called for more action than just a public reprimand.
Such actions are not tolerated under any circumstances. It brings shame to this entire board, and it will not be tolerated. Commissioner Deutsch, without reservation, I ask you to resign from office.
Commissioner Deutsch listened but did not resign and plans to move forward. Harris was not at today's meeting, but all of the commissioners who have worked with him spoke highly of his conduct and work. The Charlotte County Board of Commissioners agreed that Commissioner Stephen Deutsch will have to complete on-site mandatory trainings before the next commissioner meeting. Back to you.
I have a thing for you. Which White House official made the decision to bar the AP reporter from the Oval Office and the diplomatic reception room last night?
Well, first of all, let me just set the record straight. It is a privilege to cover this White House. It's a privilege to be the White House press secretary. And nobody has the right to go into the Oval Office and ask the President of the United States questions. That's an invitation that is given. And there are hundreds of outlets on this campus, many of you in this room who don't have the privilege of being part of that pool every single day and getting to ask the President questions. We reserve the right to decide who gets to go into the Oval Office, and you all have credentials to be here, including the Associated Press, who is in this briefing room today.
But isn't it retaliatory in nature is the argument, because the reason that the AP was barred, which they said was because they're not using the phrase Gulf of America, they're using Gulf of Mexico in line with their standards. And so the question here is this setting a precedent that this White House will retaliate against reporters who don't use the language that you guys believe reporters should use? And how does that align with the First Amendment commitment that you were just talking about?
I was very upfront in my briefing on day one that if we feel that there are lies being pushed by outlets in this room, we are going to hold those lies accountable. And it is a fact that the body of water off the coast of Louisiana is called the Gulf of America. And I'm not sure why news outlets don't want to call it that, but that is what it is. The Secretary of Interior has made that the official designation in the geographical identification name server. And Apple has recognized that. Google has recognized that. Pretty much every other outlet in this room has recognized that body of water as the Gulf of America. And it's very important to this administration that we get that right, not just for people here at home, but also for the rest of the world. Sure.
That other major breaking news that's sending shockwaves through the military community tonight. Fort Bragg is back.
Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth signing a memorandum tonight restoring the name of the Army post known as Fort Liberty since 2023. There is a twist, though, with this renaming. The post will be named for a different Bragg. The new name pays tribute to Private First Class Roland L. Bragg, a World War II hero who earned the Silver Star and a Purple Heart for his service at the Battle of the Bulge. The post was originally named for Braxton Bragg, a Confederate general and Warrenton native.
I direct the Army to change the name of Fort Liberty, North Carolina to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. That's right, Bragg is back.
Hegseth signing that memo aboard a U.S. Air Force C-17 before landing in Germany. In 2022, an Army commission called for the renaming of Fort Bragg and 8 other military bases that commemorated Confederate officers.
It was part of a racial reckoning that led to the renaming of many places that previously carried the names of Confederate figures and slave owners. Sydney Schofield live here in Raleigh tonight with more on this new move. Sid.
Well, Stephen, Lauren, where I'm standing right now used to be called Cameron Village, but you can see it's now called Village District. The community asking for this name change with its former namesake, Duncan Cameron, being a slave owner. Well, similar calls prompted the name change from Fort Bragg to Fort Liberty, and now, less than 2 years later, it's being changed again. In a ceremony a year and a half ago, the Army officially announced they'd be changing the name of Fort Bragg, 101 years after the country's largest Army installation was established. Named all that time after slave owner and Confederate Army General Braxton Bragg, who fought against the United States in the Civil War, the community pushed for change. And the Army listened, eventually taking inspiration from North Carolina Gold Star mother Patty Elliott, who lost her son, Franklin County native Specialist Daniel Lucas Elliott, while he was serving our country in Iraq.
He knew that we lived in the greatest country there was, and he wanted to preserve that and ensure that his kids would have that also.
When we spoke to her back in 2023, she hoped the name change would foster unity.
Liberty is the cause that every single person that puts on the uniform is fighting for. And I hope that there's so much divisiveness in our world today that that is one thing that we can stand behind all together.
And then?
First question that I asked, should we change the name from Fort Liberty back to Fort Bragg?
In October of last year, Donald Trump visited Fayetteville as he campaigned for his second term, suggesting the name should change back, with newly sworn-in Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth making that happen Monday night, signing this memorandum on a plane heading to an Army garrison in Stuttgart, Germany. It will still be called Fort Bragg, but will instead honor World War II veteran Private First Class Roland Bragg, who earned the Silver Star and Purple Heart during the Battle of the Bulge. Hegseth saying, quote, "This change underscores the installation's legacy of recognizing those who have demonstrated extraordinary service and sacrifice for the nation." The original name change from Fort Bragg to Fort Liberty cost an estimated $6.7 million for things like signage. It's unclear how much taxpayer money will be spent to change it again a year and a half later, as the Trump administration continues to make sweeping cuts to the federal budget. Now, I did talk to Patty Elliott tonight. She now advocates for others who have lost their children while serving our country. She's the national president of American Gold Star Mothers. And because of that role, she cannot comment on this right now, though the name change that was inspired by her son and his sacrifice was in place for less than 2 years. Reporting live tonight, Sydney Schofield, ABC 11 Eyewitness News.
Come on. Okay. This is Snaz Dictator on release Come on. Records. Yeah, everybody put Johannesburg on the map. Come on.
President Trump ordered a freeze on all foreign aid to South Africa in an executive order Friday, claiming South Africa's white population is facing, quote, government-sponsored race-based discrimination. Trump has repeatedly criticized the new land reform law in South Africa, where the country's white minority still owns the vast majority of farmland 30 years after the end of apartheid rule. Trump wrote on his Truth Social account Sunday, South Africa's confiscating land and treating certain classes of people very badly, unquote. Trump has made the claim before. The South African government says it's part of a, quote, campaign of misinformation and propaganda, unquote. His order also claims South African leaders have, quote, taken aggressive positions toward the U.S. and its allies, citing its pursuit of genocide claims against Israel before the International Court of Justice. South Africans responded to the freeze of an estimated $440 million in U.S. aid. This is a woman seeking her regular treatment for HIV/AIDS when she realized the clinic was closed. She spoke with Sky News Africa correspondent Yusra Al-Baqi.
Are you trying to go to the clinic? Yeah. It's closed. What happened? I mean, the U.S. aid funding has been frozen, so they're closing down clinics. Do you have alternatives?
I don't know. I'm going to ask next door. Hopefully they'll be able to assist me. If they can't, I don't know. I don't know what to do. Serious. What will I do? There's nothing.
Trump's order also offered refugee status in the United States to white South Africans, Afrikaners, who are, quote, victims of unjust racial discrimination. But many in the right-wing white lobby groups say they want to stay and focus on ending black majority rule. All of this comes as the South African-born billionaire, the richest man in the world, Elon Musk, now a leader in Trump's administration, has said white South Africans have been the victims of, quote, racist ownership laws and accused the post-apartheid government of anti-white racism. Last week, Musk's 78-year-old father, Errol Musk, said an advisor to South African President Cyril Ramaphosa asked him to help.
I was asked if I can arrange a quick talk between Ramaphosa and Elon last night. So I said, all right, so I did. And then they spoke a few minutes later, and it's on my phone. I can only imagine that Elon would have said, look, we want to help you, but you have to quit this, war on white people in South Africa.
Errol Musk is Elon Musk's father. Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, has increasingly embraced far-right leaders and conspiracy theaters, the some have linked to his roots in apartheid-era South Africa. In a minute, we'll also look at how Musk is part of the PayPal mafia of libertarian billionaires with roots in South Africa under white rule, who now hold powerful positions in the tech industry and politics and surround the White House. But we begin in Johannesburg with Trevor Ngwane, Soweto-based activist and chair of the United Front, umbrella body of community and labor organizations. Welcome back, Trevor, to Democracy Now! Talk about the effects of this immediate cutting off of all U.S. aid to South Africa, your country.
Thank you, Amy. Yeah, it's terrible because remember that there's a lot of programs here which rely on American funding, primarily the HIV program, PEP4. 17% of the programs are funded by money from America. And with one stroke, all that those services were stopped because no money came through and millions of people are suffering, including other community, social, and health programs. So this is very bad for the people here in South Africa.
I mean, it's very interesting you mentioned PEPFAR. Let's remember that it was established by the former Republican president of the United States, George W. Bush, what many call perhaps the most important achievement of his presidency. The significance when you talk, Trevor, looking back at the end of apartheid in '94, white South Africans who make up, what, 7% of the population, owning farms that make up about half of South Africa. What are your thoughts on the information or misinformation we're getting in the United States about land seizures from Donald Trump and from the South African-born Elon Musk?
Well, white people, you know, are sitting pretty. They managed to hang on to most of their wealth due to global and local economic processes. The rich continue to get richer and the poor get poorer. Most of the farmland, more than 70% of it, is owned by white farmers. So basically, they're sitting pretty. You know, they've got nothing to complain about. Perhaps, Amy, you know, there's a saying, the guilty are afraid. Perhaps they know that this unjust situation where a tiny minority enjoys, you know, most of the country's wealth and resources is not tenable, and sooner or later it will have to end.
And finally, Trevor, President Trump welcoming Afrikaner refugees into the United States as flight after flight takes immigrants from the United States, for example, to Guantanamo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, the white people here are not interested in going to the USA because they're having a good life here. The only thing that is bothering them is what I can call white fears in the face of black aspirations, indeed black frustrations, because after 30 years of democracy, not much has changed in terms of, you know, wealth ownership, in terms of basic improvement in the everyday lives of the people. White people, they are human beings. They can see that the suffering continues. They're just guilty. And they know that they should give away some of their wealth, but they are not prepared. So they are using politics, ideology, misinformation, and propaganda, some of them, you know, to maintain the status quo.
Trevor Ngwane is joining us from Johannesburg, South Africa.
I think that the white people should be ashamed of the deplorable situation that has been existing in the Congo, which is not the fault of the Congolese, but which is the result of instigation by European powers who are fighting each other over the mineral wealth of the Congo. And now to make it appear that the Congolese themselves are criminals or brutes because they're reacting to these injustices that they've been victimized by is again ducking the question.
It's been 6 months since Mpox was declared an international health emergency, but it still continues to impact a dozen African countries, with about 900 new cases confirmed per week. Now, experts say the outbreak stands at a critical moment as the halt on U.S. foreign assistance, along with rebel violence, scramble efforts to control the spread of the virus. NPR's Gabriela Emanuel reports. Goma is a city that's known hard times. It's in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo, a region plagued by conflict and violence. The city is surrounded by overcrowded camps for displaced families and mining towns with transient workers. This is where Mpox infections were really taking off. It's a highly contagious disease that causes painful blisters and can be deadly. So, governments from across Africa to Japan, France, and the U.S. came together to help the DRC get the outbreak under control and keep it from spreading to other parts of the world. Paul Nkwesser works for UNICEF in Goma. All that effort, he says, it was starting to make a difference.
We were just managing, and I think the outbreak was even going a little bit down.
One big piece of the response is a vaccination campaign. The U.S. had pledged 1 million doses of the Mpox vaccine and $500 million for the containment effort across the region, for things like training health workers, diagnostic tests, gloves and gowns for staff working in dedicated treatment centers.
We have around 140 Mpox patients who were in isolation in the Mpox treatment center around Goma.
Then, late last month,
from one day to another, everything is just collapsed.
One of the rebel groups took over Goma, and when they did, the Mpox treatment centers were looted, and more than 100 patients fled for their safety.
After the fighting erupted, we managed to locate only 15. So the rest is probably living within the community with a huge risk of contamination.
Contamination, meaning the virus spreads. Mike Ryan is with the World Health Organization.
All of the investment we've made over the last number of months to establish Mpox surveillance, Mpox control, Mpox vaccination, all of that is interrupted, on hold, and impossible to continue.
On top of that, President Trump froze almost all U.S. foreign assistance, including work done by the United States Agency for International Development. USAID had been playing a key role in Mpox control efforts. I spoke with two people who worked on the Mpox campaign. They requested anonymity for fear of retribution. They said after the funding freeze, U.S. involvement in the outbreak ground to a halt, and hundreds of thousands of Mpox vaccine doses are now stuck in a warehouse far from the DRC. One source compared the unraveling of the U.S. Mpox effort to watching a train wreck in real time. The White House did not respond to requests for comment.
It's a critical moment, for certain.
Anne Ramoyne is at the University of California, Los Angeles, and has worked on Mpox in the DRC for 20 years.
DRC has a very fragile health system, and USAID is an integral part of this fabric that is already stretched very, very thin.
And she says without U.S. support, there will be disastrous setbacks for health in the DRC. And because diseases don't respect borders, she worries those setbacks could be felt elsewhere in the world, too. Gabriela Emanuel, NPR News.
A light in the night air. In every day, something extraordinary happens. Such was the case on Wednesday, January 22nd. When a plane and a helicopter collided in the night sky over the Potomac River with a fireball briefly turning night sky bright. Athletes, their parents, and a military training crew lost their lives that night. But they weren't the only ones. A young, talented civil rights lawyer was among them, and her unexpected death sent shockwaves throughout her friends and colleagues at Harvard Law School. She was Kia Duggins, only 21 years old, but already a legal spitfire. While at Harvard, she was the president of the Harvard Legal Aid Bureau, where she and her team worked to prevent evictions during the harrowing pandemic of the COVID-19 virus, thereby saving families during a national crisis. Remarkably, she worked as a law student and as a lawyer after earning her law degree, working with the ACLU of Northern California. But this was not all, for this young woman, buoyed with the expansive energies of youth, worked with the law firm of Newfield, Scheck, and Bruston as well. Also, she worked with the Civil Rights Corps, a nonprofit dedicated to fighting systemic injustice. Kia Duggins, at only 21 years old, was a lawyer's lawyer. Harvard Law School mourns her passing, as do, of course, her family, and many who saw the radiance of her light. An American president, I speak of Herr Trump, opined that the accident that caused her death happened because of DEI, shorthand for diversity rules. Kia Duggins, Esquire, had she not been on that plane, would probably have smiled before suing him for slander. With love, not fear. This is Mumia Abu Jamal.
Entertainment. We got to stop being around each other, entertaining each other where it winds up. Because most of our entertainment, a lot of it, and this is nothing new, a lot of what we call black entertainment is designed to do harm. Designed to do harm. You know, you could almost walking past that place and just hear the voices and hear the sounds coming out of there. You know that when you go in there, something bad might happen to you. Much of our entertainment is designed to bring harm to black people as a part of our black culture. And this is nothing new. This is as far back as I can remember. I remember when a guy used to put on his zoot suit back in the 40s, you know, with his chain and everything. And on the end of that chain, some of them had a razor. See, that was before 9mm. Okay? I'm going to cut me somebody tonight. I see an old elderly gentleman back there. He laughed. He remembers. Don't you remember? You darn right. I'm going to cut me somebody tonight. I mean, going out with that intention. Yeah, he doesn't even know who it is, but it's going to be somebody. Now, these are the grandfathers and uncles and whatnot of some of the younger people sitting in here who are being condemned now for being gangster rappers, okay? But this thing about our entertainment being menacing to us has been as far back as I can remember. You could almost figure, I mean, on a Saturday night, no jukebox dances, roadside joints, whiskey joints, that was before crack cocaine, somebody going to get killed. Even in small towns, not just in big cities. In my hometown, it was Ragsdale's funeral home. And we just had a saying, well, Ragsdale's going to run tonight. Because black people coming out of the fields and all like that, drinking whiskey and whatnot, somebody's going to get killed tonight. You know, this is Saturday night. Somebody got to get killed. Then everybody flocks to church the next day. You know. Yeah, strange carrying zones. Black culture. Get drunk, raise sand, cut somebody on Saturday night, and go to church Sunday morning. Staggering in church. You know. Sure had a wonderful time last night. Leastwise, they tell me I did. Louis Jordan. 1940s. We need to change all of that. It's late. This is 2005. We're talking about progress. Labor. Well, you see where that's going.
Minimize conflict. Gus T. Renegade, worthless Negro from Virginia. It's Saturday night. I'm black and I'm dangerous. Weekly compensatory call-in. Today's date, Saturday, February 15, 2025. So I have been told. Weekly compensatory call-in. Review of what transpired over the past 7 days. We will be here tomorrow. Same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Victim asked me, I think it was yesterday, neutralizing workplace racism. Nick over the road said, what time is the program on Sunday? Same time. All of the other programs, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Brothers in the Central, sisters in the Central, what? 7 p.m. Central. All of the programs, same time. White guests only. Looking forward to tomorrow's guest. Man, if you were with us for Dr. Maya Angelou's memoir that we just completed this past Thursday, then you know that phrase, Saturday night. Black and I'm dangerous, and stay black and die. Ubiquitous in her memoir. Wow, I learned so much. Negro culture, right there. Anyway, make me lose my train of thought. Anyway, we will be chatting it up about a teaspoon of Dr. Maya Angelou's entertainment work in the early 1960s, some of which was to help fundraise for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. But we'll be talking about that and racism, white supremacy, white people in blackface, all of that tomorrow with a white person, same time, 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. No football to compete with, so, we can do a little counter-racism with white guests. Now, quickly, I think I mentioned Nick over the road was with us yesterday, neutralizing workplace racism. He gave a constructive tidbit about food, eating, and an app specifically to see if you can try to minimize, like the red dye number 40 that they just banned and all the rest of monos. Well, I was going to say monosodium glutamate, but I think, hey, still learning. They have said that that is not toxic, nothing bad about that, so that is not so bad. But still, lots of sodium. If they have lots of other additives, things you can't pronounce, what is that? All the rest of it. Hey, check the app. It'll tell you what this is, whether you want to consume it. Bravo. Making progress. Reminded me when we had Dr. Ruby Lathan as a guest on the program, well, many times, but one of the things that she talked about, she gave her paradigm of good, better, best. And eventually, we want to get to the point where we are eating, you would not need that app because the things you would be eating would be, Brother Gus, what did you eat today? I had organic dried mangoes. That was for breakfast. They were so yummy. That was kind of a surprise because I didn't expect that they would have those at the grocery store, and whammo, there they were. But that's what I mean. Like, that's what it is. You don't need to scan that because that's what's in it. Organic, dried mangoes, certainly no sugar. But that's, you don't need to scan that when you're eating more. That's what they mean when they say whole foods, nuts, fruits, spinach, kale, collards, and it would extend all the way through. Now, I would do the same thing, gleefully do the same thing if I had eaten dinner. I have not. I am on the West Coast. It is not even 6:30 p.m., so I think for many people, especially on a Saturday, that might be a wee bit early to have eaten dinner for the evening, so I have not. But I can rewind, say, Brother Gus, well, could you do that for your dinner yesterday? Yes, I had vegan broccoli soup that I made Now that is in my beloved Vitamix. One of the reasons I love my blender, you can make lots of soup in it. I don't think you can make soup in most blenders, and meaning you can literally make the entire product, one pot even, if you will, in the blender. It will be piping hot when it is done. Wacky. But I had the broccoli cheddar vegan soup. The ingredients: broccoli, almonds, cashews, oat milk, but you can pick any non-dairy milk, onion powder, garlic powder, turmeric powder, 1 whole bell pepper, half a block of tofu, nutmeg, veggie broth, teaspoon of salt. I think I might have given you, and crushed red pepper. I add liquid smoke to mine just because, but that's, whatever. Anyway, none of that would have to be scanned. Even the veggie broth, that's organic, and you can make veggie broth from scratch yourself, but none of that has to be scanned, what I just said. That's the way that you want to progress to eating. And it would be the same today, because I was going to make pad thai. That probably be the plan unless things get delayed or what have you, but I was going to do pad thai, and that would be rice noodles, broccoli, tofu, veggies, blah, 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 peanuts, nothing whacking. That's what you would like to progress to eat. That's better for your health, better for the environment all the way around. And I think this is in a terrible thing to waste. The more products, when you eat out and eat in those packages and boxes and such, that's probably more processed and more contact with all that plastic. Talk about those microplastics that get in your system. You tend to decrease that. So difficult to get away from it in this plastic planet, but you can at least minimize that, unless I've been misinformed, by doing more whole foods. Just go get broccoli. You can get your own satchels and such, so it never has to come in contact with any of that plastic. And again, hey, I don't need to go and read the ingredients. I know what broccoli, cashew, almond, pepper, collard greens, and just go on down the line. That is good, better, best. Using that app to minimize and do better, that is way better than eating corn dogs, hot dogs, cheeseburgers, Whoppers, potato chip Cheetos, fried chicken. You get the drift. But do better. All of us do better. Whole foods, more veggies, more fruits, vegetables, and model that for your offspring. That would be one. Dried organic mangoes. If you have children, and or even you, if you're an older person and you're accustomed to having lots of candy, added sugar and such, dried organic mangoes. And they have those at Costco frequently. I would only get the organic ones to make sure that they don't have any sugar or craziness added, so you can be cost effective. You don't have to pay a lot of money, because they can be pricey sometimes, but wow, they are delicious. Anyway, let's see. Eat more whole foods. Sunday guest, book club. I mentioned Dr. Maya Angelou. We just completed her book. Unless something wacky happens between now and Thursday, and that certainly could be the case, I think Dr. Maya Angelou will be the rarest of rare, one of one, where she'll be the only author where we will have read 3 of her books in the Catherine Massey Book Club. She wrote 7 autobiographies. We will begin book number 6, A Song Flung Up to Heaven, on Friday, not Thursday, February 21, which is 16 years to the date when the cows came back on the air, 2009, and February 21, 1965, the date Minister Malcolm X was assassinated. We actually were reading his autobiography way back in 2015, when it had been 50 years removed from his assassination. So now we're at the 60-year point removed from his assassination. Dr. Angelo's sixth memoir, it picks up immediately with her finding out Minister Malcolm has been assassinated, and I humbly submit what she reports, her observations of how black people in San Francisco responded to the news that Minister Malcolm had been assassinated. That is black culture. And that is immediate. Like, I was kind of surprised. I was hoping that this was going to be in the book we just finished. She lived a long life, so she wrote a whole book in between where this doesn't even come up because she had so much to say, if she experienced so much. But this is in book 6, and I think the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King is in this book as well, which we'll have to see. I'm not sure. That would be wild for 3 years to go from 65 to 68 in, it is possible. I think that might be the case, but that will be Friday, so we'll be lined up perfectly with regards to time. Friday, February 21, Dr. Maya Angelou, A Song Flung Up to Heaven, and this time narrated by Dr. Maya Angelou, the audiobook unabridged. Nothing to fear. We can just let her tell her story. I think this will be the second time out of 3 where she narrates her own work. So I'm looking forward to have that, to hear her retelling how she heard about Minister Malcolm having been killed. Wow. Coming on Friday, February 21, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Now, clips that we heard today. I started, let me see if I make sure I didn't mess up my tabs here. I may have. I'll go back really quick, but I started with, there we go. I started with the Super Bowl commercial from this past week, Eagles triumph. Exciting whites. Anybody wants to hook it up, my Amazon wish list. I have the t-shirt for the Exciting Whites, the white defensive backs, champions for the Philadelphia Eagles. They were just at the parade yesterday. I would love one of their t-shirts to rock for the summertime, the Exciting Whites. Any hoodles, but during the triumph of the whites, exciting, they played this commercial with Tom Brady, a suspected race soldier, and Snoop Dogg, victim of white supremacy. And so they're going, you heard it in the commercial, I hate you, and I hate you, I hate you, we got to make commercial. Now, when I saw this commercial, I was prepping for the program with Dr. Groucho, suspected racist, this past week. And so I had the volume off. I couldn't really hear what they were saying, but I'm looking, I'm just like, what? I knew, who these people were. And I'm just like, what? And I'm looking at Snoop because it's like he's not wearing like a suit. I've seen Snoop where he's got like his suit on and all of that and is looking very dapper. I've seen all that. He does not look like that in this commercial. Now, Tom Brady is not wearing like a tuxedo or anything either, but man, like, it just gave me great pause. Like Snoop Dogg, his attire, he does not look like someone who is in charge of anything serious. Anyway, victim of white supremacy. People probably say the same thing about myself. Anyway, but I watched the commercial, and then after I got to go back so I could hear it with the audio on and everything, like, what is this? Hey, this is supposed to be like a public service announcement. Dare I even say something counter-racism? Don't be hating, don't be hating, don't be hating type of a thing, I guess, theoretically, right? At least they could say that. Is Snoop the same dude who was at the Super Bowl in Los Angeles a couple years back where he had the death row medallion on with the black fella in the electric chair? Y'all remember that? Is that ancient history? I'm bringing up old stuff. I said, is this the same dude who did the Negro classic Down for My Niggas with the bastion of justice and peace, See Murder? Their smash hit. I have to go to get Snoop Dogg's portion of the lyrics, because I know sometimes the people say that the music makes it difficult. You hear what Fuller say about Negro entertainment? Like, oh my God, run, run, run. So I'm not going to read all of it, but this is just a teaspoon of the lyrics of Snoop Dogg from his song, Down for My Negras. And if you have small children, I don't know, like they might already know this hit. I don't know. They got an iPhone. I don't know what to say. You could cover their ears, I guess, or you could explain. You probably heard this track before, and now we're going to have a scientific analysis of this, or at least deeper thought than we probably have before. So they put him in the commercial. And I said, wait a minute. So he said, fuck them other niggas, 'cause I'm down for my niggas. Fuck them other niggas. I ride for my niggas. I die for my niggas. Not proven, 'cause he's still with us. This song came out 25 years ago. So not proven. Think you're fibbing to us there, Snoop. Fuck them other niggas. And he says that a few times, fuck them other niggas. But we got that, Snoop. Okay. What niggas? Them niggas. Yeah, dog. You with it? Fuck them. Let's get them. Do them. I did them. We getting nutty in this motherfucker. Dr. Wells had talked about, see, I got my buddy in this motherfucker. Leave a nigga bloody in this motherfucker. And it goes on in the same vein. Niggas and motherfuckers and, blah, 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 blah. I could have went with We Don't Love Them Hoes, because he has a whole hefty catalog, right, of records, songs. I said, man, we don't love them hoes. I said, hey, you got a whole gang. Hey, right, we don't. That's who you get to put in the. Like, you could have made was MC Light. She wasn't available for the no hate PSA. No. Dougie Fresh. MC Hammer. No. Lil Wayne. Retract. Sorry. Probably made a few of those hating songs too. But I mean, dang, it's lots of artists that they could have. Man, that's Megan Thee Stallion. No. Let's see, the Negro entertainment conflict. Anyway, they removed end racism, E-N-D, racism, from the end zone for people who gleefully do not watch brain damage tackle football. That is the 10-yard area at the end of both parts of the football field that are colorfully marked where you score the touchdown. That's the end zone. So in the back of the end zone, behind the goal post, they had written, I think for about the last 5 years, since George Floyd, end racism. Now, not every stadium has this, not every game, but for a number of contests, that's what they've had in the back. Not the Super Bowl. Choose love. I feel the nausea creeping. Again, I did say occasionally it would be replace white supremacy with love. What? To remind, oh yeah, there ain't no choosing love, because right now, racist man, racist woman, racist child, they have chosen the global system of white supremacy. And all the non-white people are subject to it, so we support them in that. So, ain't no love. The choice currently is white supremacy racism. Got to make a new choice. Replace white supremacy with love. I said I would say that on occasion. Just see there. All that lying, choose love. Anyway, so during all of this Super Bowl exciting whites, Snoop Dogg, Tom Brady commercial, the cows doing our part, time and energy, we had suspected racist Dr. Rachel Grashow, white woman, on the program, and I asked her if she would allow her children to participate in football, tackle football. And she said, well, no, I have daughters, so it wouldn't be an option. And I said, well, would you let them kick the field goals? Because they do have lots of white females, that's mostly what I've seen, where they, at the high school level at least, might even be beyond, where they have them go out and kick the field goals. And she said, oh, man, there's no space for females in that tackle football. Number one, that is flagrantly false. It might have been a deliberate act of white supremacy, deception, number one tool. There are so many reports, you can't even count them all. And it's not even a new thing. When I say new, like the last 2 years, it's older than George Floyd, of having females go out and do the kicking, at least at the high school level. And certainly younger than high school, it's been going on for much longer. But doing the kicking, oh yeah, having a female out to do that, no big deal. Not to mention, during our conversation, the NFL having a Super Bowl commercial to promote flag football in high school for females. Yes, it is a space for females, especially if they're white. NFL got to get that money in there. They said, importantly, in that segment, they said, hey, people are pulling their children out of football. People are not pulling their children out of football. White parents are pulling their children out of football. And the white guest that we had on the program, Dr. Grashow, she cited an article specifically that was talking about that it's white family. We had Dr. Jessica Wallace as a guest on the program during the Super Bowl the last time the Chiefs and the Eagles played. Suspected racist Dr. Wallace told us, as she was rooting for Jalen Hurts, who lost that day, won and got MVP this week, she told us that white coaches, white families, white parents, and white players are more informed about concussions than black players, black parents, black players. Black coaches, parents, players. And I said, wow, that is important. I'm glad we were able to get that on the record. And during the Super Bowl, no less, just in terms about making informed decisions about the risk of all of this. And, even if it's weighed with, well, this is the option to be, a star and to get us out of poverty or whatever, like, man, I don't know. Even putting that with what Dr. Grashow said this past Sunday, she said, now, I do think she practiced racism deliberately in a number of ways, that notwithstanding. She said that black NFL players, when their career is done, their health does not reflect all of the privilege, so-called, of an NFL professional athlete. Their health looks more like the health of a regular, unprivileged black dude. That also is something that I would factor in, like, whoa. You go out and do all that running around and Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts and Pat Mahomes and all the rest of it, and it's not privilege at the end of this. O.J. Simpson, it's not it's I got about the health of a regular old black dude plus brain damage and arthritis and whatever else from all those tackles and hits and drills and whatever else. Whoopee. Now, that is some black male privilege for you. But, yeah, they said in that report, we got to do flag football or something because people coming. White parents are keeping their children out. Brain computer is important, and for lots of things like mistreating and dominating niggers, let the black people do it. And I even think, isn't it interesting, as more information has been coming out, concussions, brain damage, and all the rest of it, 3 consecutive Super Bowls, MVPs, black quarterbacks? What? They didn't even allow black quarterbacks as white people start to ease out the door. Now you might not ever see another white MVP of the league. No, I don't think that's because black people are so talented at quarterbacking that Lamar Jackson and other. No. White people are easing out the door. Let them niggers have it. We're going to protect our brain computer. Y'all get out there. Yeah, get it, Mar. You got it, Jalen Hurts. You get out there and do all that tush pushing and busting up your noggin. Just a theory. Anywho, let's see. The keep your children away from the football. Let's see. The report where they talked about the Negro Pass. I think that's out in Montana, which is kind of right next door, Pacific Northwest region. And they said that this was the second time that the little daughter, non-white child, had to endure. Oh, they got the N-word pass. I can call you nigger every day if I want to. Lots of reasons to have many, many honest discussions about white supremacy racism with your child. In fact, I would submit your child, the first time they hear nigger, it should be from you, the attempted parent. That way you can explain how you want them to respond. When did you first hear this term? Times people have called you this term. It can be racist when they've called you a nigger. It can be other victims when they've called you a nigger. How you've handled it. Times that you handle it and you like, man, that wasn't the best. I think I could do a little bit better. Times when you think you did a great job just according to your own counter-racist code. That is exactly how I would want to respond if it happened again today, and that's how I'd want you to respond, my son, my daughter, when someone calls you a nigger. Snoop, anybody else? You say Snoop. You heard that song. It might, anyway, let's say, we had, oh man, wait a minute. They said when they were talking about the racism at the school, they said the racism, they got the racism, they want to keep the racism in the dark. What does that, I don't even know what that means, man. I don't even know what that means. Metaphors are very, very important. White people lie and do not talk about racism, white supremacy publicly, and then claim ignorance, as most criminals do, about a crime. Rob the bank? Oh, I don't know nothing about rob the bank. What? Rob? I can't even spell bank. Let's see. We heard from Cleo Nagby, black female, attempted mom. I said, isn't that the worst job in the known universe? The hardest job in the known universe, being an attempted parent. Cleo Nagby, black mommy out in Missouri. That's where her teenage son, he was 16 at the time, Ralph Yarl, way back in 2023. He goes to pick up his twin siblings, and he gets the address incorrect, and then the white man is gonna shoot and kill him. Andrew Lester is gonna shoot and kill him. Get off my property, and you don't come around here raping white women. Ah! Shot him in the head. He could have died. He pled not guilty at first. Now he changed his plea, and he's gonna plead guilty. I was thinking attempted murder. Attempted murder? You shot him in the head? Attempted murder? I don't care if he's 86, 96, 106. Attempted murder? Come on. Anywho, but she said, Miss Nagby, she said that her son, Ralph Yarl, after he was nearly killed trying to pick up his siblings, that he curled up in a fetal position for days. Who can blame him? I mean, that's total. I mean, what in the world? Terrorism. Terrorism. How many years of therapy is that? How many Dr. Welsings do you need for that? And not just he, certainly his mother too. I mean, you know, I'm sure that was a great day for Miss Nagby. Oh, my child was shot in the head. But I was thinking, dang, what about his twin siblings? It's like, what? Where's our shiftless brother? He didn't come to pick us up. Is he at home asleep? Like, what's going on? Oh, my God. He almost got shot and killed. Like, what? What? What do you mean he got shot? I don't know. He was being lazy and wrote the address down wrong. He was thinking about raping a white woman and got confused. I don't know. He went to the wrong house and he almost got shot and killed. What? What kind of trauma have they gone through? His siblings, I mean. Have they been curled up in a fetal position the whole time too? Or for days at a time? Like, man, who could blame them? Privileged black male, old Ralph Yarl. Let's see. The second, man, I might have to do a teaspoon of storytelling if I can get myself correct here for one moment. Man. And tough job parenting as well. When they had the neo-Nazi group out protesting in Ohio close to the school, they had black parents out in the shivering cold, stress. Are y'all going to have these white terrorist gang? Might have been some of the folks pardoned from January 6th. Out here, hooligans out where my child is trying to go and learn. Toughest job in the known universe. I told a listener in Ohio, I said, man, last time we had a correspondence, that is the exact same thing I said. It was some Dylan Klebold wannabe was going out and ready to shoot up the school. And I said, oh my God, I'm so thankful I do not have offspring. I say that like once or twice a week for a variety of reasons. Let's see. Okay, now, story time. That section on Senegal and female genital mutilation. I have to, before, this is my one for story time, but for one, the masters of genital mutilation, undisputed champions in the known universe, racist woman, racist man, racist child. Unless I have been misinformed, this is the only group. Make this a part of the culture. Go out and keep non-white people's genitals trophies. Probably got some jars of Negro testicles right now in a white person's attic, museum, whatever, basement, cellar, under the mattress. Undisputed masters of genital mutilation. I said for Negro History Month, they should get that plunger, Justin Volpe, put it out on display. Abner Louima sodomized you with a plunger, and then he paraded it around like he won the Super Bowl. Talking about the plunger after it spin up a Negro's rectum. Abner Louima. The masters of genital mutilation, undisputed. Undisputed. Racist man, racist woman, racist child. Now that's it. For delectable Negro, the human consumption, delectable Negro, human consumption and homoeroticism in U.S. slave culture, and the entire chapter on Claude Neal lynched in Florida, where they made him consume his own penis. The masters, undisputed, of genital mutilation. All of that said, when I heard that report, I had such a strong flashback. After I remembered who the champs of mutilation, genital mutilation are, I had such a strong flashback because at the same time that the cows started in 2007, we were kicked off the air promptly and came back on the air in 2009, February 21, 2009. But when we first came into existence, University of Washington's radio station, I was having a lot of conversations with local Africans, meaning black people who were born on the continent. Now, with many of these females, initially, I thought, I will show off how cool and learned a Negro I am. I will be sure to ask them, wow, isn't that female genital mutilation? Isn't that terrible? Wow, something more should be done about that. So they're like, wow, that is the coolest black boy ever. Like, wow, see, right? So I start talking, and this happened repeatedly, right? Talking lovely Ethiopian females, Habesha. And so I practiced my line. I got it all down. Like, man, isn't female genital mutilation, isn't that, serious problem in Africa, different parts? Don't you think it's a big deal? And they would give me the look I'm so familiar with, like, all the way from Eastern Africa, that look like, what kind of Negro is you? And so they would look like, that's not that being female genital mutilation. That's not happening all over the continent. That doesn't happen everywhere. That's more like in rural places. Like, that's not. None of the females that I talked to, they would have a list of problems. 99. None of them included, man, female genital mutilation. We got to do something. That was nowhere on the list. To my, like, what? And so I would then be like, what? Are you serious? Like, what? Don't you, what? And so then they would again look like, I see why your fellow black American cousins do not fool with you. Like, no, I'm not worried about female genital mutilation. I don't think my mom is worried about that. I have sister, and some of them do. My sister's right there. Do you want to go and ask her? I do not think she is worried about female genital. Like, it should not be happening. People should not be harmed. But, man, you have black people on the continent who can't even get clean water. And they will spend all this time and make documentaries and blow it. It reminded me, we had Ikpanwosa Ero, black female born in the continent Africa. Also, she has albinism, person with albinism, I think is how it's phrased. But she was a guest on the program. She gave a lecture at the University of Washington for Black History Month last year. It's in the archives, both two ways. But she was here, and she talked about how some people, at least think, Gus T being one, that white people promote and dramatize savage images of highly melanated black people with machetes hacking up people with albinism on the continent. Like, oh, the savages, these are almost like killing white people, and something like that sort of thing. It's almost like racial theater. And it plays very much into the black monstrosity that they like to promote, It almost reminds me of that because we get to promote the image of these savage, Africans, and they're going out carving and brutalizing these females, and it's just they don't care nothing about no black females. They don't care nothing about no Andre Bloom. They don't care nothing about no Winnie Mandela. Like, what? How about the mines in the Congo? And didn't we just hear the report they got starving black people in South Africa? They're bringing them out like, oh, my God, they haven't had a sandwich. Did we just hear that? Am I making that up? We just heard that, right? Why don't you do something about that if you are so concerned about, especially like a large population of black people on the continent's well-being? Do something about that. And the same thing would go for the Congo. Get them dark people up out of the mines. No, just aren't they savages? Going out and mistreating these females. Then you contrast that. What is a bigger problem? No comparison. Skin bleaching creams. I could have, and maybe should have, included Dr. Welsing right there in talking about how, because she talked about that all the time, right up there with black self-respect. I would be a billionaire, maybe trillionaire now with inflation. I get that pill, man. Get that skin bright. Oh, that terminology was used. They talked about the students being bright for intelligent, and then they came back later and said the skin bleaching creams will brighten your skin. The incorrectness of both, and I think Fuller has that, we should not say bright for intelligence, just intelligent. If that's what you mean, there should be no connotation bright and dark, because racism is in the dark. If I can read a book, you show is bright. Woo! The metaphors that support white supremacy, racism, but the skin bleaching creams, I maybe should have went with Dr. Welsing talking about she'd be a billionaire, but I deliberately on this week went with Kendrick Lamar's Complexion, because that song I could read the lyrics and it wouldn't be filth, florin, filth. Maybe I should do that. But I did that song specifically because I don't think he performed Complexion at the Super Bowl. Now, I have not watched the performance. You can revoke my black cool card and, all that. No problem. But I did not watch it. In fact, even sometimes you get messages from the creator. I was in front of a screen while doing the live broadcast where the game was on so that I could see Tom Brady's commercial and the exciting whites. But the signal dropped almost about 2 minutes before halftime. It dropped, and by the time we were on the live program, was I going to, hey, wait a minute, I got to see K-Dot, man. We'll pause, Dr. Grishow, everybody hang on, just give me 2 seconds to, I could have done that, I guess. I did not. By the time, the program was resolved and we got everything, I think the game was over. Certainly halftime was way done. And then with the game, that was done too, with the beatdown of the exciting whites. So I missed all of that. Had to hear about it from folks and heard about it from everyone. Conflict with other non-white people. I didn't hear anyone mention, oh, wow, he did Complexion. I didn't hear nothing about that. Nothing. I guess you can go get the lyrics to yourself. I'm looking at them now, and I could read these lyrics. It is not filth, florin, filth, and all the rest. It is way better than, but I don't think he performed that one at the Super Bowl. When they got to the report, they started talking about the damage of the skin bleaching creams. Billion, and that might be by now, $1 trillion industry, and that is all over the world. They have people who are not classified as black, so-called Asians. They use skin bleaching creams to the Caribbean. We had our guest, Dr. Durant, She was born in Jamaica. We talked about skin bleaching creams with her as well. That was at the beginning of 2023 in the archives. Billion-dollar business. Black self-respect annihilated. They said, oh man, the thing is, once you start using them, you can't stop. Got to use these bleaching creams forever. And if you stop, he said, you go back to black. That almost sounds worse than black get back. It's like I'd made a few progress. No, you can't take me back. No. And it's not even just back to black. It's with all that damage to your skin. That's the largest organ on your body, and all that damage and the psychological, spiritual damage is probably even more than skin cancer. Oh, man. Whew. That is a way bigger problem, I submit. It's not even close, because that's people all over the world with those skin bleaching creams, and that's been going on for a long time. White people know this, have benefited from this. Complexion, Kendrick Lamar, he didn't perform that at the Super Bowl. If you set me straight, if he did get out there and indeed perform complexion at the Super Bowl, may hush my mouth, Gus T. That's what you get for talking out of turn and not watching. My fault. Now let's see. The skin bleaching lost mine. Like, oh man, Dr. Welsing, man, I wish we had Dr. Welsing with us. You know nobody's going to live forever. Like, come on, stop being ignorant. But still, man, I wish we had her with us just to, can we send her? Can we pay for Dr. Welsing? Like, go back to Germany and go talk to white people again. Like, go study and see what is going on. And now, what does this look like in comparison to what you saw when you went last time? Man, that's one right there. They were talking about archiving and getting notes and, what materials get saved and all of that. If Dr. Welsing kept a journal while she was in Germany, gold. She could have just written a book about her time in Germany, because people write short books, It doesn't have to be 600 pages. Let me see. The ISIS papers is like, I'm going to say 300 pages. It might not be 300. I'm just, saying that for sake of argument. People write short books. She could have wrote just like 60 pages, just something short like these, just Dr. Frances Cress Welsing's recollections of her visit to Germany, counter-racist recollections. Oh, and get that, go to Germany now. What? And they said young, and come on, man, young white. They don't have white people in Germany. Young white men. And man, is Dr. Welsing still alive, though? Because she said, what is everybody in Germany thinking about now? Like she said that today. That was from 2015, man. It's like she said that 5 minutes ago. What's everybody in Germany talking about? A white genetic annihilate. There's too many dark people up in here. What we gonna do? Brother J.D. Vance, come in. What you think? Brother J.D., what you think? Man, if anybody has that diary, journal, field notes Dr. Welsing kept, maybe she had a little recorder with her and she just kept little audio notes of things that happened. Oh, my, gold. And then we should go do a field trip now and see what it looks like. Let's see. They said J.D. Vance was talking about all the so-called Indian hate, racism, white supremacy. Isn't his wife cowbell, non-white, so-called? And I might be misinformed. I was pretty sure she was non-white. Like, I at least think you'd at least want to confine it to, the Negroes and Obama and that sort of thing. Like, whoa, I'm married to one of those. Like, it keep the happy home type thing. Maybe she's not Indian, though. I might be misinformed. His wife, I mean. Let's see. The goal, I will pause for confession. I might have been duped. Old lame racist suspect Hillary Clinton, she might have got me. I was watching the inauguration of President Trump the second time around, and Hillary Clinton was sitting in the back. When he was talking about renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, she started snickering as though this was absurd and something he couldn't do, and, you know, what kind of idiot is this? I had to go and check the paper to see, like, does the president have the authority to rename the Gulf of Mexico? Yes. I fell out in the floor. Like, what? Because I'm thinking like they're just getting uppity and snooty at the press conference, like we're not even going to let you in if you don't use the proper name. Man, the most familiar mystery, and I mean Jesus. Now, Fuller, didn't I tell y'all about them words? How many decades did I tell y'all? Words are important. Yes, Fuller. Yes, you. Robust gratitude, Fuller. Robust gratitude. Now, I'm thinking, no, he cannot just, I'm president now, and forget old Biden and lame Obama. It's Trump times 2. And I say it's Gulf of America, and, you better act like you want to say Gulf of Mexico if you want to. I was thinking like, no, that's not. Yes, he does have the, man. Woo. That was a tough one. So I guess, yes, Gulf of America. And I acknowledge some white people have resistance and other white people in the world don't have to use this terminology. Individuals in Mexico have said, we don't have to use this terminology, but that is the way language works. Now, you just get to see live time now. Who is the most powerful white person? We can watch live time. How many people start picking it up and saying, Gulf of America? I really thought that he was lying. Wolf tickets. No. Fort Liberty. Wrong. Fort Bragg. Now that one, I give him a short clap because Fuller is, But I am not on all of that, refinement is named after a slave owner. We don't want to do that anymore. We're going to change it. Liberty. Are you serious? In the name of Lavina Johnson, are you serious? Nah. Nope. Change it back. Put the Confederate flags up, all that. They kept Ben Tillman statues up in South Carolina. Keep all of it up. Until this system of white supremacy has been replaced with justice. Nope. I'm totally Fort Bragg. He bought and sold niggers. Fort Bragg. Love it. But words are important. And the most powerful white people, it seems, they control the words. Stunning. I for real thought it's Gulf of Mexico. No. Gulf of America. Let's see. And then the aid to South Africa, which you talk. I do want to skip that for a moment. Just the monkeypox in the Congo. I played it right there for a reason. I think all of that is deliberate. That might be an Apple event, as we talked about previously, assassination of Patrice Lumumba and the Negroes down in the mining shafts. I think that's a bigger problem than so-called female genital mutilation, which, again, no one should be mistreated, but I mean, dang. Congo been messed up for 60 years. Like, Lord, millions of people impacted, can't go to the hospital. Dikembe Mutombo mom died in the Congo. We get to that But this female genital mutilation, we're going to make a documentary on that. Anywho, before I nab, folks, one thing, I had a revelation, came to a conclusion this week. Now, I had thought this before, even asked Fuller about this before, spoke with him about it. I think it might even be in the archives. I had to go back and verify, where he acknowledged that many of the folks who listen to his programs or talks, lectures, whatever you know, him speaking about counter-racism, that many of these non-white people are not serious about replacing white supremacy with justice. This is entertainment, time filler, open place to sit down in air conditioning for a moment, whatever. Like, you know, they got time to kill until football season kicks up again in August, like whatever the case may be. But replacing white supremacy with justice is not why they are listening to Neely Fuller Jr. He had come to that conclusion, was aware of it, just continue with the work, and that is my conclusion as well. Now, one of the glaring pieces of evidence that makes me think, wow, a lot of these folks who, you know, talk about Fuller or listen to him, whatever it is, they are not serious, because we still have lots of name calling of other black people, almost exclusively. Now that right there, I mean, Fuller's talked about that for decades. I never, ever heard a, you know what, you children, on second thought, that name call it isn't so bad. You know, like I never heard that. Now, if that recording, or if he wrote a book or a pamphlet or something, if that exists, let Brother Gus know, and I will change it up. But I never heard that. For decades, I heard, hey, ease up off that name calling. 10 stops, man. Stop all that name calling. Minimize conflict. That's what I heard for decades. We are not serious. And specifically, we do not believe in minimizing conflict with non-white people. That is, man. And matter of fact, Super Bowl halftime performance. We get excited and seek out conflict with other non-white people, generally black people. Fuller said that black culture get excited about being in conflict with another black person. For Black History Month, no, and maybe all appropriate, because hey, that's what we do. That is what we brag about doing. Snoop smash hit, F them mother effers, man. Like, that is Negro. That's why Fuller said, when you see black people, run. He didn't say go and give them 5 on the black hand side and fist bump and Negro hug. None of that. None of that. None of that. Run. We got something constructive to do. Let's get it done. As soon as it's complete, deuces. I'm running. Sprint. Get away. Get away. Get away. Oof, 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 oof. Might be some name calling. Anything. Who knows? Snoop Dogg song come on, and who knows? We have flashbacks. Man, this is super important and greatly informs my conduct, and even realizing, like, wow, like I'd realized that we're not serious before, but we don't even believe in not minimizing conflict with other non-white people, even those of us who are aware of Fuller's work. That right there, since that is now my conclusion, that takes some major recalibration. But I mean, there is a lot of evidence. I know for myself personally, the amount of times that I have to beg is asking more than once, people, can you please not talk to me? Not curse. I didn't do the Snoop Dogg right now. I didn't do the filth blind and F them niggers and F you nigger and I didn't do none of that. Privately, off the air. Nobody has a record of that. And then I don't do that on the air neither. It's codified. Please refrain from contacting me for any reason. I say this, people insist on contacting me. That's what I mean. It's lots. I mean, it is staggering to me that this behavior is widespread and all over the world. All over the world. From non-white people, presumably. Hard to tell online. I've said that along too. White people can lie and pretend and all that. But I mean, presumably, individuals who are classified as not white, we seek out. We want to do the Drake and K-Dot. We want to do that. Not even at the Super Bowl. Like, do it for free. No audience. Doesn't matter. We want to do it. The beef is with white people. We do not want to get over here, get on old Gus's nerves for 3-4 minutes. The whitey. Now, there are a variety of different reasons that I bring this up. One of these, we do not believe in minimizing conflict. We seek out conflict with black people. I do not have that like bubbly, friendly personality like on the air or, off the air as I'm walking about in my daily life on the plantation. I just don't have that. Have never had that. So I try to stay quiet, leave people alone, minimize contact. I have to give an anecdote. I was going to the grocery store. This happened specifically on May 25, 2024. I was just leaving the Brazilian Film Festival here in Seattle. And this was, I think, like not even a week removed from the Seattle International Film Festival. So I was really doing it up on my cinema roll this springtime. So I just left the Brazilian Film Festival, and we had a program, Neutralizing Workplace Racism, that day. I'm leaving, hungry, still have to prep for compensatory call-in for the next day, so I'm going to get a snack and get back on the counter-racist grind. I go to the grocery store. I get curried cauliflower. Excited. That one you probably, scan, make sure it's nothing crazy type of thing. But I go get my curried cauliflower, all excited, pay for it. I'm going to go heat it up. They have a microwave over in their cafe section. So I go to use the microwave, but there's a racist suspect in front of me. So, and I had just left the festival where people were still wearing masks and all of that COVID protection. So I go get sanitizer and a rag, and this is not like a Louis Vuitton rag, unless I'm been misinformed. It, to me, looked like a rag. And a spray bottle with sanitizing solution so that I could wipe down the microwave and warm my cauliflower. So I'm waiting for the racist suspect to finish in front of me. All of a sudden, black female employee, she comes up from behind me and she says, nope, you can't use the rag and sanitizer. I said, I was just going to clean the microwave after he finished up. I didn't know if he'd spilled anything or what have you. That's all and I'm sure that I paid for my cauliflower. I paid for this. I just wanted to clean the microwave really quick. He says, that doesn't matter. You can't use the rag or the sanitizer. That is only for employees, not customers. I said, okay, my fault. Well, is it possible? I said, you're an employee. Is it possible that you could wipe the microwave down? Because I just, fellas, I don't want to touch all that. She says, absolutely not. I said, okay. And so she snatches the rag and the sanitizer. And she goes to give this long spiel about don't come snatching the flag and who you think you are and snatching everything and blah, blah, blah. Now, when she said she, was not going to clean the microwave out and all the rest of it, I said, okay. Now, you can imagine, you can dramatize that as best you like, and I have tried myself. You can make okay as hostile and aggressive as you like, but I didn't yell, and I didn't say it more than once, because I'm very familiar with the hostile okay when it's okay. Like, I know that one, where that is not a peaceful, I'm going to let it go at that, where, this is going to escalate. I did not do that, and I only said one. Okay. And I turned around to leave. That was my plan. I was going to go and return my cauliflower, since I was not going to be able to heat it in a sanitized microwave. I was going to return my cauliflower, get my money back, and leave. As I'm turning to leave, she is rolling like, don't you come in here and think you're going to use this rag and bring. Now, this might have been a Louis Vuitton rag. It might have been something that maybe they keep $100 bills sewn in the rags or what have you. I didn't find any bills in the rag that I picked up, unfortunately. It, to me, looked, felt a normal rag. For additional context in this story, I have done this exact same procedure many times as I have been out and about in Seattle. Grab something really quick to eat. I'm going to heat it up as I'm rolling. Germs. I'm going to wipe this down really well before I use it. More times than I can count. I've had different white employees at even different locations who have seen me do this. Said, oh my gosh, black brother, you are not an employee here. Put that down. I will wipe it down for you. More than one time. I've had this happen. Every time it's been a white employee who has ran up, give me the rag, you don't work here, give me that, I'll wipe it. Thank you kindly, but we'll wipe it down. You want me to wipe it down? Is this clean enough? I've had that happen repeatedly and at multiple locations. She spoke to me as though I was a member of the Crips. She was in the Bloods. K-Dot, Drake, like we had some sort of long-running turf beef. I beat her out of some drug money some time back, and I didn't forget about it. Like, I was totally stunned. Like, I am walking away. You have the rag, the sanitizer. I said, okay. I did not curse. I didn't stomp. As she continued talking when I'm walking away, it's like, wait a minute. We are in a ritzy, expensive Seattle store that does not sell Tahitian treat or Snickers. If I was classified as white, elderly, child, lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual, wheelchair, you would not be talking to me that way. For a rag, you have the rag. Everything that you wanted, you have, and I'm leaving the store. Why are you talking to me like we have a gang beef? I stopped on my heel, turned around. What is your name, ma'am? She gave me her name. I went and wrote that report up, and I told the white people in charge specifically, I do not feel safe shopping at the store where she is employed. And I told them the same thing that I just told you. She would not have spoken to me this way if I was white. She only did this because I am a black male. I don't even think she would have talked to me that way if I was a black female. That was an important moment for me because I do say, be patient with other black people. On that day, I'm going to have to adjust that policy because black people are really, really hostile and discourteous and nasty to me. Like, what in the world? I didn't say anything to her. I didn't curse her. I don't think it was her personal bottle of sanitizer. Now, if it was, she should have had her name on it and put it someplace where, hey, this is my stash. Don't be touching my Louis Vuitton sanitizer or my Louis Vuitton rag, coon. my fault. I thought this was. And at this store, they have had community rags and sanitizer before, so you could go and wipe the table down. They have a seating area, you know. But I said, oh, yeah, because I thought, like, wow, they might fire her. And I said, real talk, I hope they do, because I had no intention of going back. I've shopped at this store for, like, since I came to see it. I've shopped at this store longer than the C.O.W.S has existed. I was not going back to that store. Like, I'm not brawling with anybody at a store where I shop all the time. And over a rag, I wasn't trying to beat you out. Let me use your bathroom so I can go in here and shoot up methamphetamine and sleep on the toilet for an hour. Like, are you serious? I made a purchase in less than 5 minutes and was going to be out of here, and you're talking to me like we're K-Dot and Drake? Nah, man. And like I said, with all of the white people who shop at this store, you talk to white people like this at this store when they ask for a rag to clean something? I do not believe that on no day. And I'm going to tell you the customer service that suspected racists give me at this same store. I went to make a purchase for tea. I got in line. Race soldier who wasn't even working on my register ran to the back of the store and brought me a coupon to get a free tea just because he glanced and saw that I had it. I didn't say what's the line. I didn't say, hey, not all white people is racist. I didn't say that. I said race soldier went and got me a coupon. My black sister, I was not going back to that store if she still worked there. And it seems she does not. I am not on that brother, sister, none of that. Is about the treatment that I expect from people classified as black C.O.W.S listeners. That's about what I expect. Code had to be adjusted accordingly. It's not that I'm no longer patient with black people. It's just, whoa, whoa, whoa. If y'all are not going to behave like that with white people, we don't even have to have contact. I didn't go into the store to talk to her. I don't even talk to black people. I told y'all before, I live in Seattle. I don't even have contact with black people. But you are not going to, it is produce justice. It is not traded out just that you can have black people be nasty and hostile and anti-black. Like, oh man, like, I'm sorry that your skin bleaching cream ran out. I really am. Do not take it out on me. I'm sorry you lost your money on the Super Bowl. Do not take it out on me. I'm sorry you didn't get to see the concert for the Super Bowl. Don't take it out on me. And we do tons. That's Negro culture, man. And again, we do not believe in minimizing conflict. Major adjustment to counter-racist code, because that, and even those of us who do all that Neely Fuller, but that don't mean nothing. Nothing. Now, specifically, I had someone contact me. I can even give like 2 different splits on this, where I had someone contact me that I had blocked previously. People that I blocked and asked, can you please refrain from contacting me? And they asked me, are you patient with black people? Yep. And then I blocked them again. Now, the thing is, if you all think I am not patient with people that are classified as black, pretending to be black, suspected of being black, wind up again what I've been saying for 16 years. so what? And the emphasis on the so what on this one is so great, I'm going to remove patience from the prayer. How many people have you heard say, hey, I think a part of counter-racism should be patient with other black people? I don't even hear people say that. I don't even hear the people that you all say, I love me some black people and all that. That ain't Gus T. I don't have nothing to do. I run fast. I do exactly what Fuller says. All of the black people that I love black people, got to emphasize blackness and blackness, run fast and far. But do you hear them say, be patient with other black people? I don't, but whatever. I don't listen to all that, and maybe I haven't heard anything. Heard everything. I'm still learning. But that is not a top priority of mine, and for me it cannot be, because black people don't believe in minimizing conflict. It's dangerous with people like that to be super patient, like, no. Recalibrating, since we have people who we love conflict and seek it out with people who are classified as black, and the evidence is overwhelming about that. I'm going to switch the prayer around to reflect that. And in fact, it even reminded me, my ad to the 10 stops was not be patient with other black people. My ad to the 10 stops was refrain from wasting non-white people's time and energy. That's what I said. Oh man, put a priority, because we waste time, and we waste a lot of other non-white people's time, mostly for conflict and foolishness. That was what I said should really be maximized. And I even have to give hat tip Emmy. She hasn't participated live, but she participated live for so long, and she just invested. Like, but she hasn't participated live because she is in med school. Constructive use of time and energy. Another Dr. Welsing, that's what we need. Love it. But in that process, she said, I was hanging out with a victim, classified as black. And she said, this victim, like most of us, no concern with replacing white supremacy with justice. That's not a crime, but I mean, that's why we're in the shape we're in. And she said, nice person, whatever. We're kicking it. This isn't like a, so-called dating thing or whatever, just kicking it. But she said, man, this person not be invested in replacing white supremacy with justice, we really are not going to be able to do a whole lot of spending time together, because you will have me sidetracked. I'm supposed to be in med school. We need more Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Replace white supremacy with justice. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. That is my assignment. You are not on nothing close to that. Like, you will mess around and have me derailed and on some foolishness. Time and energy, how you invest your time and energy is so critically important. And for me, I am not going to waste my time and energy arguing with black people that mail me to name call other black people. You don't even get 5 seconds. You don't even get 1 second. Like, don't contact me. That's why I have to pile up. Stop contacting me. Even if you think Gus T is rude and surly and impatient with black people, now I just told you. So what? Don't contact me. Oh my goodness. This one, in fact, I'm going to give you 2. It's a rack of things. In fact, I need you to remember, I am speaking as a non-white person who has been a public spokesperson, hated around the world for 16 years. I am not a spectator. I would probably sound very different if I had been spectating for 16 years as opposed to a spokesperson publicly for 16 years. That probably has a massive difference on how you see and think about racism white supremacy. Probably why Mr. Fuller made a distinction about greatest spectators. Anyway, but you all, spectators, have been spectating to a broadcast. I've been asking, do you know of another program that is actively sabotaged? I didn't give you the guest for tomorrow's program deliberately because we have non-white people. They are so disgusted with the cows broadcast, not racist man, racist woman, they go to sabotage the cows. Let me see if I can disrupt so the guests won't come on the program. This is all the way back to Dr. Cambon. He told me this years before he passed. He didn't say this was white people who called him to say this. This is our brothers and sisters. Do you know of another program where they do not give out the guest's name for future broadcasts in advance because people work to sabotage who's going to come on the program? Do you know of another broadcast where that's the case? Okay. Anyway, I'll give you two. I said this is all over the world. I had someone who could be a black person, and I emphasize that a lot too because so much of this over the phone, how do I know this is somebody black? What do you mean be patient with a black person? How do I know? Well, I've said that for years, like this could be a race soldier who is pretending. There's a lot of that, and particularly once we get online and email, how do I know this is a black person? There's a whole lot of that. People have written whole papers about that. How easy is it to put up a picture of someone classified as black and say, yeah, this is Leroy? So I do not assume just because you say you are black and are communicating with me via social media, call in, drop me an email, I do not assume you are a black person, even if you say you are a black person. How do I know? Following logic, as you all like to say. Anyway, a person contacted me via social media alleging to be black, and they asked me why I use the term non-white. We did a whole program about that, and I gave them the link. And I told them, hey, the only people who have questioned me about this, raised an issue about the term non-white, have been white women for the most part. That was all I said, making a statement. Now this person somehow, what do you mean I'm white identified, and all this other, whatever. I can't even give it VGQ because I don't know if this is a non-white person, which is what I told them. Slow your roll. You're alleging that I called you white identified. You might be a racist. I don't know. I don't know if you're a non-white person. We're just communicating via social media. You're going way too fast saying that I said you are a white identified non-white person. Wrong. And they just kept rolling and you lied, you did. Pause right there. You are greatly confused. If you think that would go for any of you in the world, my mom included, you are confused. If you think I have to come on this program, get on social media, and lie to any of you, most of you spectators, I got that much regard for a spectator anywhere in the world, Seattle to Brisbane. I got that much regard for a spectator's thoughts that I got a lot of you. Are you out of your flipping mind? Yes, apparently the answer for many, no problem. Minimize contact. They don't do that. Which is what I say immediately. If you conclude Gus T is a liar, there's nothing for us to talk about. I don't have any credibility, right? Deuces, refrain from talking to me. They don't do that. They sneak back one. Hey, Gus T, I just wanted to ask, and man, I'm surprised you even would want to talk to me because, man, you had said all that. They wait enough time. I forgot, wait a minute, is this? Oh, man, why you said that I lied. Why are you talking to me? I told you not to talk to me. And for this to be so, I just don't do that. I guess we are built different. Any of you all, retired firefighter, any of you all would have one time to tell me, Gus T, do not contact me. You would never hear from me again. I believe in minimized conflict with non-white people. I believe in that. And You are being discourteous. Like, that's another one, like, real talk. You all sit around and do that nonsense, like, full of this, still learning. No. Okay, whatever. Be courteous. Stop being discourteous to other non-white people. That's in the 10 stops. Yes, you've heard that at some point. Yes. Okay. If someone says, please stop talking to me, and you continue talking, you are being discourteous. Like I said, we don't believe in minimizing conflict with non-white people. You're going to talk to me, coon. You're going to talk to me. Who you think you is telling me not talk to you? Please don't talk to me. Who you going? You did all that time listening to Fuller for what? For what? But this? Nah, man. Now, and again, now, so how patient should one be with this sort of behavior? I'm just looking at the logistics of it. Like, hey, we're not serious. Most of us, victims of white supremacy, we are not on our assignment. In my view, I am. And I have 16 years of work that I will stand by. My time and energy is substantially, astronomically more important than squabbling and beefing with non-white people, victims of white supremacy, about anything, even about what you think the solution to racism is. If you got it, you don't need to squabble with me. Solve the problem. To that end, a different non-white person contacted me this week. We've not spoken in years, plural. They contacted me to send a report, ostensibly, I guess, I don't know. But they contacted me to send me a report, and they said, please be kind if you have a response. I'm still learning. Now all they did was send a report. It was literally 1, 2, 3, 4 sentences. And they only wrote 3. One of the sentences is quoting from an article. No problem with anyone sending an article. And this is another one. I stand by my work on 16 years. I don't curse out people who send me a news article. I don't really curse out anybody about, sending me anything. What I say, please refrain from contacting me. If they get on my nerves or name-calling black people, that sort of thing, just want conflict. And TV programs. I have requested, I'm not interested in what you watched on Netflix and all of that. I've said that, yes. And even then, I don't curse people out. I just point out, like, really. There's more evidence. I would say we are not serious. We are just going to watch TV as long as the plantation exists and the electricity is running. Anyway, so the person who has not spoken to me in 3 years, these are their 3 sentences. Please be kind if you have a response. So I asked them because it staggered me for a second. One, I haven't had correspondence with this person in 3 years. Nothing. Like contacted to name call, shout, curse, nothing. Swap no Snoop Dogg songs, nothing. And I met this person. We broke bread, as they say. I do not eat with people where I have a concern about whether or not they're going to be kind. I don't feel like eating with folks. Hey, they're going to slang on me. Like if I take a phone call or I'm not looking, they're going to slip something in my tea or whatever. Like, what in the world? So I asked, like, do I have a history of being unkind with you? No. For everyone listening, if you think I'm unkind, discourteous, nasty to black people, whatever, deuces, please refrain from contacting me for any reason. Period. I didn't ask any of you to send me a news report, particularly with the implication that I might be rude in response. Like, for real, if you're concerned I'm going to be nasty in responding, don't send me nothing. We had been perfectly fine doing what? No contact. And I mean, for real, have I cursed you out before? No? Oh, okay. Have I name called you before? No. Okay. At this point, I got a record. I've been courteous. Why would that be the case just for sending a news report? VGQ, I do not need to talk to anybody who thinks I'm rude, curt, surly, nasty, impatient with black people. If that is your assessment, wind up one more time. Can you believe they said I was going to stop saying this? Oh, woo! Still learning. We all are. If that is your assessment, Gus T is rude, nasty, curt, surly, all of the above. So what? And I've told y'all before, man, if it's not constructive, beat it. Mike Jackson, Mike History Month. That's what I've said, man. I don't get on here and curse people out for sending me news reports. I stand by my record. Thank you. Appreciate it. At best, I'll say, whoop, I was on my grind this week. I already had that one, but much obliged. Thank you for the news report. I think that's what I have a track record for. But if that is not your assessment, beat it. And particularly because, man, if you've been listening for a while, we met in person and broke bread. If you had concerns, man, you've been sounding kind of grumpy of late and churlish and surly and, man, even curmudgeonly. If that's true, it's not, hey, Brother Gus, you've been on your counter-racist grind. Are you okay? Do you need anything? None of that. None of that. And don't you think for a second I asked for any of that. I said Mike Corleone is here. We are not friends. I said from day one, I'm not a nice dude, and I mean now, at 16 years and all of this, we're not cool. I'm just on the business of replacing white supremacy with justice. You don't hear me come on here and whine and grouse, and the black people aren't cool with me, and the other counter-racists aren't cool. I don't care. That wasn't even the objective from day one. I hope that the other black people will be cool with me. I hope that other counter-racists will be cool. That was not the goal at all. The goal is replace white supremacy with justice. Nothing else. Well, we can add it. Replace white supremacy with love. Then we can say it for real, instead of all this lying and phoniness for Valentine's Day. Any hoodles, prayer have to change. For me, it is maximizing time and energy to solve this problem. I'm still patient, but don't you be confused at all. I have concluded with people that we are not serious about minimizing conflict with non-white people. I am. That's why I don't have contact with most of you all. I don't do no name calling either. I stand by my work on that. I'm serious about not having conflict with non-white people. And if that means we don't talk, that just means we don't talk. That is an improve. Would I rather have that, or would I rather have K. Dot and Drake? I'm going to tap my mute button all day long. Since we do not believe in minimizing conflict with non-white people, and the evidence is shown because most of us do believe in name-calling black people, maximizing the minimized conflict and maximizing my time and energy. I don't even do a whole lot of fooling around with non-white people, man. And for reals, I don't fool with people if I think it's a chance that they're going to be discourteous in how they respond to me. I don't even talk to them. The insult to injury for all of this, the report that they sent with the hopes that I would not be an uncouth, savage, raping Negro, I would have got it anyway. In fact, I did get it anyway. I didn't even click on their link, so I was more like, what? When have I been unkind to you? I didn't even click on the link that they sent. Got it anyway because I am on my counter-racist grind that is not dependent on people sending me information who think I might be a rude Negro. Any hoodles, we will be here to buy, and that's why I like to have white guests only, because I don't care if they think I'm rude. They think I'm a raping Negro, so it doesn't matter if they think I'm rude. Let's get on the counter-racist grind. Doesn't even matter. Just solve the problem. That's one thing I add, too. I had people say, man, Gus, you sound rude, and you ain't with your black brothers and sisters. Ain't nobody say, man, you've been on the grind for 16 years. Are you all right? Passing of Brother Fuller hit you hard? None of that. And really, as it should be. As it should be. I would have been stunned if it was any different. Any hoodles. Worked out perfectly because I had no intention of taking calls today anyway. They can marinate on that. They say Gus T is rude and surly, then we don't have to talk. I'm excited to talk to white people. Anyway, that's tomorrow. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Let's see. Did I miss anything that I wanted to get to? Stop wasting time. Can't emphasize that enough. Stop wasting. I think I actually got everything that I wanted. I might have missed one. Missed one, but that's not, because they called me a snitch this week. That's what I mean. They called me a snitch this week. Folks came out on you old snitch, no count, black dude snitching on our black liberation. What are you? Woof. Replace white supremacy with justice. You at Homeland Security, irritated genie of Southeast, can beat it as well. Only regrets I have about that, I would have said well, I guess I didn't have that much time, but I would have said a couple of months in advance as soon as I found out. Irritated genie of Southeast who's doing all this running around and talking about conflict with other black people. Surprise, surprise. He is a Homeland Security employee, not TSA. I would have said that earlier, but it would have only been 2 months earlier because I didn't know that years in advance. But other than that, no regrets. And same thing I said then. Now that I've had 15 years to think on that decision, if you got a problem with that, Mike Jackson, beat it. And I can ride on that. I've left out 2 things, but that's irrelevant. Here tomorrow, white guests, only because I can be surly with them. New prayer, but it is still sobriety would be best under conditions of white supremacy. Protect your brain computer. Creator, help me maximize my time and energy to replace white supremacy with justice as soon as possible. Help me to stop wasting non-white people's time and energy, including my own. Minimize contact, minimize conflict. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Stop name-calling black people. Stop producing throwaway offspring. Stop being discourteous to black people. I was going to say non-white people, but woo, we are hostile to other. Man, let your skin bleaching subscription run out. Woo! Black, get back. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Cal signing out.
Nigga, you so brainwashed. I'm a victim, brother. No problem. You're a victim.
I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning.
Shut up.
The man has programmed my condition. Even my conditioning has been conditioned.